Everyone should be on their best behavior. We all know what can happen when we don't follow the rules. Now, 0.526 miles of concrete is no place to be caught unprepared. I expect you guys to be on your toes today. I'll expect you to make an appearance. Wild Toyota is close to a win. John Wood reigned supreme here last fall. And what a Dennis Setzer. Some call him the short track king. There are a million variables to factor in here today. And with DW getting into the mix, anything could happen. All right, let's have a good solid race. I'll see you in the wind.
Truck Series heads back to its origins. Short track racing. The bumping and banging begins at Martinsville Speedway. Speed Channel's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series pre-race show is presented by Craftsman. A beautiful day in Southern Virginia. Martinsville has 81-degree temperatures. Slight wind out of the south, 3 miles an hour. Let's go down to Ray Dunlap, who's with our pole sitter, Jack Sprague.
Well, Rick, right now he's getting his pole award up here on the stage, but I want to reflect back a week ago to Augusta, Georgia, when Phil Mickelson got his green jacket. Hey, Jack, get over here because we got to talk some golf, man. Last week it was neat when Phil Mickelson won that golf tournament. Many people said he was the most deserving golfer to not have won a major. I would put your name on the list to be the most deserving driver to have never won at Martinsville. What is up with this racetrack?
This is a tough racetrack, especially for somebody that drives like me, hard in the corners. So it's taken a lot of discipline to figure this thing out for me. And the guys have done a great job. Chris and Dave, they've worked so hard since Atlanta to get our program stepped up, and they've done it. I got a really good truck here. Obviously, I wish it was a little better, as everybody else I'm sure does. But I think we got a shot. I mean, we got to try to keep it toward the front, stay out of trouble, and if that golf logic works for you, man, I'm all for it.
Okay, congratulations on your 21st pole. Keep in mind, Jack Sprague has 23 career wins in the Craftsman Truck Series, and 18 of those have come from starting positions 1, 2, or 3, and 4 times he has won from the pole where he'll start today. Now let's check in with Wendy Norris, my broadcast partner.
Green jackets in golf are great, Ray, but let's talk checkered flags. Who can forget this unbelievable finish 5 weeks ago at Atlanta when Bobby Hamilton inched in front of Mike Skinner for that win? Bobby, you must be on top of the world coming off of Atlanta. You sit 3rd in points. What does that momentum do for you and the team?
We sort of leave the racetracks as we go. You know, we have to look forward to the next race, and that was a cool victory for Square D being Atlanta. It's a huge market area for them, and we go into Martinsville. My teammate's sitting on the outside pole in the Dickies Dodge, and Square D Dodge is solid again. So, you know, this type of racetrack, you got to have a lot of discipline and take care of your brakes, take care of the tires, keep the nose on it, keep the back tires on it. A lot of work for the driver. So we're just going to try to get out here with a good finish.
All right, that's Bobby Hamilton looking for a second victory here at Martinsville. Rick?
Well, let's take a look at our 4 top 10 point standings. Travis Kvapil, last year's series champion, up on top. 4 points behind is Carl Edwards, our Daytona winner. And then you see Bobby Hamilton's name in 3rd in the points with that amazing win at Atlanta 1 month ago. Hello, everyone. I'm Rick Allen, and joining me to call all the exciting action from the booth, Michael Waltrip and Phil Parsons. Now, Phil, there were 3 names that were obviously missing from the top 10. Ted Musgrave, Rick Crawford, and Jack Sprague. Is it that much more difficult for those guys to wait a month in between races until we get here?
It's been excruciating for those guys. They wanted to race the day after Atlanta because they wanted to get their season on track. None of those guys has the start that they wanted to have, and they wanted to get back going. So it's been awfully painful for them, but it's also been painful for Travis Kvapil and Carl Edwards and Bobby Hamilton because they were on a roll. They had momentum going. They had 2 good runs, each of them, and they wanted to race the next day after Atlanta to keep that momentum going. So nobody has liked the 5 weeks off.
I haven't, Phil. Do you remember the first 2 races of 2004? The finish at Daytona, all the action from down there, and then, of course, side by side, sideways to the checker flag at Atlanta. Take what you saw at those 2 places and multiply it by 3 or 4 because that's how much smaller Martinsville is than those 2 venues. We're going to have trucks all over each other, beating and banging. The new Goodyear tire works good for 10 or 15 laps. Then the drivers have to work with the throttles, use throttle control. They're going to be sideways. They're going to be all over each other. It's going to be good.
Well, one guy who's really good at Martinsville is Dennis Setzer. And when we come back, we're going to take a little bit closer look at the short track ace. Channel's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series pre-race show is brought to you by Craftsman, the official tools of NASCAR and the NHRA. Dennis Setzer, the only driver to ever win 2 races here at Martinsville in the 10-year history coming to this track. Let's take a closer look at this short track king.
It's exciting, to be here in Statesville, North Carolina. I appreciate what the owners and Silverado and Chevrolet's given us the opportunity to come out here to Statesville and be in the hotbed of racing. It's been tough, we went through some growing pains, and we got into December and early January, and still we're putting the right people in place. And unfortunately, the right people's come through the doors and asked for jobs, and man, we think we got the very best team assembled that any Craftsman truck team could. It's a dream team for us, to assemble the people we have right now. Our crew chief, Danny Gill's been with us. He and I have been together probably almost 3 years right now, and have a lot of good information. He understands what I'm looking for. I guess understands my language when I'm asking for something.
The checkered flag will fly for short track ace Dennis Setzer.
Good job, guys. Way to go.
I really enjoy the Martinsvilles and the short tracks all over the series. I feel like the driver has more input at a short track than he does at the Speedway. So you go to the Speedway and that thing's arrow loose or whatever, man, you're holding on, catching your breath all day long. But you get the short track, if you're a little loose, you get a couple chances to come in and make some adjustments, and you really feel those adjustments that the crew chief makes in those places. And we were very happy last year. We feel like we really achieved a lot for what we all overcome. Working out of Oklahoma with Danny not living there and myself not living there, and the crew done such a great job to put a great truck under us every week last year. We had more top 10s and more top 5s than anyone else in the series. So it just scares all of us to death. I think we got to improve on that mark from last year.
Martinsville is described as a paperclip, 2 drag strips connected by 2 U-turns. Dennis Setzer, you're one of the few drivers that have figured this place out. What makes you so good?
Well, I don't know. Our team really works hard as far as short track testing, working out their brake package and different things. Silverados give us a really good truck here, and hopefully we can continue on like we've been.
That's Dennis Setzer. He's won 2 of the last 3 races here at Martinsville.
All the drivers anxious to get underway with short track racing. Back to the roots of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Welcome to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Kroger 250 on Speed Channel. Spectacular crowd, probably the largest crowd to watch a Truck Series race in Martinsville, Virginia. Let's go down to pre-race activities, trackside.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats and remain standing for today's invocation and national anthem. Our invocation today, Mr. John Fox of Raceway Ministries.
God, as we gather in this beautiful place to enjoy this day of racing, we remember the men and women of our military around the world. And I pray today for your comforting presence to be with the families of those who have given their lives. And I pray for a speedy end to the conflict and a safe return of our troops. Bless now each member of these race teams and give them the discipline they need to perform at their best. And bless their efforts with safety for all. In Jesus' name, amen.
Our national anthem today, Mr. Randy Burkle of Advance Auto Parts.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, Oh, say does the star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Crowd excited for the race at hand. If we can call Dennis Setzer a short track ace, Darrell Waltrip must be called Martinsville Master. 11 wins at Martinsville in a Cup car. We'll be back to see how DW handles Martinsville.
Okay, DW, reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
I haven't won a Craftsman truck race. I'd like to win one just so I could put that on my resume.
Just tell all them people watching, stay tuned.
I have run in this series, and I haven't won, and I don't like that.
Mr. Martinsville, Darrell Waltrip, 52 Cup starts at Martinsville, 5 for the truck side. He has 11 wins at this racetrack in the Cup, but as he mentioned, no wins in the trucks. Let's go down to Ray Dunlap, who's with DW.
And Rick, his truck number will be 11 today, which is certainly representative of all those wins here, Darrell. A 5th and a couple of 7ths in the Craftsman Truck Series, though, but the competition sure has stepped up with Toyota coming in. What's a realistic expectation today for old DW?
Well, I'd like to be in the top 10. That's what I think I can do. Truck was pretty good in happy hour. The boys have just, done a good job for me, and got Hammond and Larry Mack. Just, a lot of great memories. Hammond on the pit box and old Larry Mack up there being my spotter. That's a lot of fun for me. I hope people realize how much fun I have doing this, because it's a thrill to get back out here and race a little bit.
Well, we're sure glad to have you. Good luck today. Darrell Waltrip in the number 11 truck will start today in the 21st position.
This race 1 year ago, Chad Chaffin was leading the race with 3 laps to go when he ran out of fuel. Chad, you have another great truck today. You're starting on the outside front row. Who is your biggest competition?
Well, this Dickies Dodge is running good, but you can start at Jack Sprague and work your way back through Bobby Hamilton, and there's a lot of fast trucks here. But, we've proven time and time again we're fast, and we're looking to prove we can win a race here today.
What is the key to getting around this place? We've talked to a few drivers this afternoon.
Well, I think you've got to just take care of your tires and take care of your brakes. The corners are very tight and the straightaways are very long. If you've got a good turning car that'll hook up and you can take care of it, you might get the job done.
All right, thanks, Chad. Good luck today. Let's go back to Ray.
Well, Wendy, all the way up towards the front of the grid here is Travis Kvapil. Man, what a great start to the season. A couple of top 5s and a difficult racetrack here. Travis, you didn't have much success last year. What do you expect today?
Well, I don't know. I mean, hopefully we can just stay up front here in the top 5 like we're going to start towards the front. And it wasn't my best track last year by far, so hopefully we got a little bit different setup under it. And, I've probably learned a little bit about the racetrack as well. But the Linux team did a great job this weekend. We didn't unload very fast, but hopefully we just stay up front, keep the fenders on it, be there at the end.
A lot of people have their eye on this Toyota program, Travis, and of course you've been a representative of how good it can be out of the box. Are you surprised at the success you guys have had already?
A little bit, I guess. I mean, I know we're surrounded with some great people, and TRD's done a great job, behind the scenes, and they give us some great equipment. So a little bit surprised, we haven't had any problems more than anything, but great people and great teams put some great results on the racetrack.
Okay, Travis Kvapil will roll off 6 today at Martinsville.
And as you see, all of the drivers are strapped into their trucks, so there's only one thing left to do. We need to go down trackside for those famous words in auto racing.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the most famous words in all of sports, the Director of Grocery Merchandising for Kroger, Tim Plogger.
Race fans, are you ready? Drivers, start your engines!
DW's got the engine fired up, as do the other 35 drivers getting ready to tackle Martinsville. It's a beautiful day to get back to short track racing. Welcome back to Speed Channel for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Kroger 250. Let's take a look at the U.S. Army starting grid. As Ray had mentioned, for the 21st time, Jack Sprague is on the top of the charts. Chad Chaffin with his best start at Martinsville, as does Rick Crawford with his best start. Carl Edwards changed a motor. Now, that's probably not going to be a big factor for him. He'll go to the back of the field, but he's done it 3 other times, and he's won every time he's changed an engine.
Wow. You can see here Shane Mill, Mike Skinner, these guys make up row 4. Bill Lester is a cat that has wound up in the Toyota camp, and he continues to impress. Phil, always qualifying well, does Bill Lester.
Team Ultra back in row 7, Ted Musgrave on the inside, Andy Houston on the outside, and back on the outside of row number 9, Mark McFarland, the Dodge Weekly Racing Series national champion last year in Jim Harris's Dodge.
Look, rows 10 through 12. Darrell Waltrip will start on the inside of row 11. 11-time Cup winner here. Ken Schrader has 44 starts. A lot of those in Cup, but he's also got a couple in the truck, so this is his 45th start.
3rd place in the points, David Rudeman starts on the inside of row number 13. You can see Hank Parker Jr., that terrible crash he experienced in Atlanta a month ago. The time off has been good for him. He's been able to recuperate, and he's in that Toyota truck.
5-time series winner Terry Cook starts on the inside of row 16 in the Power Stroke Diesel Ford. And Tina Gordon, back from that vicious crash that Hank Parker was in, you mentioned, Michael, starts the leader of the provisionals on the inside of row 17.
Take a look at the trucks that missed the field. 46 attempted to make the 36 truck field. Kelly Sutton, Jeffrey Bodine, Craig Wood, Ricky Gonzalez rounding out that list. Take a look at the Craftsman track description, and people have called it a paperclip.
Well, what you have is 2 really long straightaways and tight turns. What it does, it puts a premium on the brakes and on the gearing. You have to really take care of your truck. It's only 250 laps, but you can burn one up in a hurry, charging down into the corner. You heard Jack Sprague saying he's a guy that wants to get deep in the corner. That hurts you in the race here, not only because of the brakes, but it also heats up your tires, Phil. It's hard to operate with that type of MO.
As you mentioned, Michael, 250 laps, almost $450,000 purse. Pit window for fuel, 130 to 150 laps, but we see a lot of caution flags here at Martinsville, so I think you'll see drivers pitting well before that.
Let's take a look at who we're going to be riding along with. The Federated Auto Parts 52 of Ken Schrader will carry one of our cameras, so we'll be able to have a little experience around Martinsville. Somebody else with a little experience around this track, Darrell Waltrip, piloting the Toyota number 11.
I don't know how old he is, but he acts like he's about 16 years old when he's at a racetrack getting to drive that truck. I know it's a lot of fun. You can see Andy Houston here on board camera as well. He'll be starting in the 14th position. A bunch of these guys have got a lot of traffic to get through, but nobody more than Carl Edwards. He's going to drop to the back of the field. Dennis Setzer usually qualifies right up front and runs real well here, but he's mired back in the 10th spot to start. So it'll be interesting to see these guys working their way through the field.
Jack Sprague will sit on the pole, has an opportunity to win $6,000 in this race, and the Craftsman win for the pole. Let's talk to Darrell Waltrip, though. We've got a mic with him.
Yeah, it's Mike. Darrell up in the booth. What do you think? You ready to roll, brother?
Well, let's don't wait all day. That 16 truck's going to be coming. Roger.
DW, it's Mike up in the speed booth. Can you read me, brother?
Switches up. Roger. All switches up. Ready to rock and roll.
It sounds like there's a little bit of team communication going on there. Let's listen up as they get
back. You got the green, bud. You got the green.
They're coming to the green. That's why there's all this sudden up the tempo.
Truck is off.
Jack Sprague, Chad Chaffin come out of turn number 4 for the green flag to get underway with the Kroger's 250.
A lot of rubber down on the racetrack, Michael. You had 2 practice sessions for the Nextel Cup car this morning. A lot of laps put down, so these guys are seeing more rubber than they saw yesterday in happy hour.
Oh,
problems early on. Bill Lester getting spun around in the 22 in turns 3 and 4, and that creates a bottleneck as they all try to get around the 22 Toyota of Bill Lester. He keeps it moving. The caution flag flies on lap number 1.
Now, calm down. Take it easy. We'll be all right. Got him cleared by outside.
And so caution number 1 comes out on lap number 1. We'll be back with more green flag racing. And And welcome back to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Speed. We talked about bumping and banging as a part of the Truck Series. Well, it's already started on lap number 1. Let's take a look.
Well, this is kind of rude here. Andy just closes in on the 22 and spins him out. First lap of the race, I know Bill was hoping for a little bit more courtesy than that. Then look at the trucks piling in there trying to figure out which way to go. You can see DW slipping through here. See if we can talk to Daryl. Hey, Daryl, that's a close call. What happened? How'd you get by that?
I don't know. All I know is we go down the back straightaway, and the next thing you know, we're 3 wide with the wreck right in front of us. So a little early to be driving 3 wide, but I guess that's part of it. I wouldn't have done it that way, but we'll see how it works out.
I think if you'd have seen the replay, you would have been really surprised to see how that all took place. But your skills are still in place. I noticed you snaked your way right through that crash. Was Larry Mack on the radio telling you what to do?
I really was worried about the start, and now I know why.
All right, brother, 1 to go. Get them belts tight. Let me see how that stuff Larry does. Be ready. Got Park in front of you. Teammate behind you. I know he'll cut you some slack, so bring her down here and let's get some trucks. We got to move up here today.
Ready? Be ready? Be ready?
Larry Mack.
Ready? Green flag, green
talking
flag.
to Darrell Waltrip. Green flag flies again for Jack Sprague as he leads the 36 trucks to the start-finish line. Schrader, we saw the Federated 52 moving to the outside early, and in talking to DW before the race, he said early on he needs to get in front of about 10 trucks.
Well, you can't take a chance on going a lap down, Rick. That happens so fast here. You get a truck like Jack Sprague, if he's got his truck the way he wants it at the start of this race, he has no traffic. He can run a half second, maybe even sometimes a second faster than the guys back there in traffic. So Darrell has to be conscious that he could go a lap down early if he isn't careful. We see Travis Quapple there. He was trying to work to the outside of the track too. Not a whole lot of action going on right now on the outside. It looks like pretty much around the bottom. But from what we saw in practice this morning, that outside will open up. We'll see 2 lanes of racing here at Martinsville.
Bobby Hamilton moves up into 4th in front of Travis Quapple with a little pit strategy. Ray Dunlap.
Well, Rick, I think we're going to keep track today of how many drivers get a free pass. Normally we have only about 8 cautions here at Martinsville, but I wouldn't be surprised today if it's more like 12 or 13, and that could mean lots of guys getting a free pass back onto the lead lap. So that means I'm just wondering how late will anybody pit in today's race. I think the competition has gotten so good in this series, I'd be surprised to see anybody pit much later than lap 160 or 170, because I don't think there's enough time to get back to the front. I think the key today is going to be a lot of trucks on the lead lap.
These guys that are mired back in traffic, Rick, are catching a break. Jack Sprague is not able to pull away from the leaders. He's kind of holding up the first few trucks. So even though it's just that subtle, that's allowing the guys back in the field to breathe a little bit easier. A guy like Dennis Setzer isn't just out there streaking away from everybody, in danger of putting a lot of trucks a lap down.
Great battle for 9th, Andy Petrie and David Starr. Petrie in the 33, David Starr in the Spears Manufacturing 75 on the inside. He tries to make the pass going down the backstretch.
Great move by David Starr to lock up the left front brake, trying to get down the corner. Great move by him to work underneath Andy coming off turn 2. Now he's got side by side with him. He's in the preferred line on the bottom of the racetrack. Let's see if he can get by Andy. Make sure Andy doesn't crowd him a little bit too much. There's Dennis Setzer right there. We're taking a look back from Dennis Setzer's onboard camera. Andy's hanging in there on the outside pretty well.
Yeah, there's definitely multi-grooves here at Martinsville, but it seems like the upper one comes in best, Phil, after your truck or your vehicle has a few laps on it. So get those Goodyear tires worn down a little bit, and there's some room to race on the outside. You can see Andy here holding his own.
And it looked like a little bit of smoke coming out of the 88. That's right, Tracy Hines having some problems in the Menards 88.
Yeah, that's a lot of smoke.
Yeah, he's going to get black flagged. That's a tremendous amount of smoke. It's obviously not tire smoke, so he either has a loose oil line or something like that going on.
And the problem with that is if he's dropping oil on the track, that could bring out a caution.
It doesn't look like he is. I watched the trucks that were following him, and they didn't seem to be sliding around these, so maybe we can stay green here. You can see a great battle shaping up for the lead here.
Chad Chapman trying to go to the outside. It's allowing Rick Crawford to get to the inside. He was on the inside of him a couple corners ago, but he said, hey, Jack Sprague standing on the bottom of the racetrack. If I'm going to pass him, I'm going to have to do it on the outside.
You had mentioned the preferred line being down on the bottom, but the problem also is that when they're coming off of those corners, the guy on the inside is not able to get into it as fast because he might slide up into the guy on the outside.
He cannot use the entire racetrack to come on out to the wall, so he has to kind of pinch it a little bit, and that sometimes keeps him from using as much throttle as he would like to.
Great battle for 6th and 7th. Mike Skinner on the outside, Shane Meal on the inside.
You can see Shane, he's able to hug that curb, go right around the bottom of the track and catch a little bit of an edge over Skinner, but then that outside lane provides so much momentum, it's hard to complete the pass. But Shane looks like he's really got that truck working well down on the bottom, and I can promise you, he don't want to do that too often, especially to barely squeeze the line. But I was going to say, I can promise you, he's got plenty of power. That's a DEI engine under the hood of that number 15, and he's just driving away from him now.
I'll tell you, that's a driver and team that has really been impressive this year. They had a great run going at Daytona, got slid through the grass there by pushed by another truck. Had a good top 10 run at Atlanta. Brand new truck for Billy Ballew's team here, and Shane doing a great job. Had a good qualifying run and is running well.
That's been a lot of fun to watch that team mature like it has, Phil. They've been around for a while, and now they've kind of hit their own and are becoming very competitive.
Jack Sprague making his way around lap traffic now. Sprague, Chaffin, Crawford, Hamilton, and Quappel are your top 5. Welcome back to Martinsville Speedway. Ken Weaver gets spun around in the 08 in turn 2, and that brings out caution number 2. Coming out on lap 25.
I'm not sure Ken Weaver didn't have a tire going down. He came off of turn 4, got really sideways and went down in turn 1 and 2 and turned the thing around. So he obviously had a serious handling problem, if not a flat tire.
A lot of guys were happy to see that caution, huh, Phil?
Yeah, Carl Edwards, one of them, we looked at him during the break. He was over 16.5 seconds behind. So he was only 4.5 seconds away from being lapped. You mentioned when the leader has clean racetrack, what a pace he can make, and people like Carl Edwards mired back in traffic with nowhere to go.
Wendy?
Well, we talked to Kevin Starlin, his crew chief, before the race for Carl Edwards, and they said with that engine change, they're going to be starting in the back, but they weren't too worried about it. He said they might come in and pit early in the race just to make some adjustments if they feel they need to, because they're not so worried about it in the beginning of the race. And also, they've just been saying that the truck has been tight for Carl Edwards.
A lot of times when you get put behind the 8 ball like that, Phil, you want to mix things up. You know, Carl Edwards and his team talked about maybe bringing it to pit road and working on it because they want to just switch things around a little bit, put them on a different pit strategy. Maybe say they pit now and take some tires or put some fuel or make an adjustment. In 20 laps or so, another caution, everybody else pits, he takes advantage of that and moves up. So that's a smart move, but I guarantee you that they might be playing poker face down there because they got to be worried. They could not get where they were going.
A lot of damage on the left front corner. He's obviously made some contact with somebody, but it doesn't look like it. The critical thing is at the bottom, the brake ducts right at the bottom. That is the critical part of the front end, the air inlet for the radiator and the brake ducts. You got to have brakes at this racetrack, so you do not want to knock those brake ducts off.
It'd be impossible to think you could start last and not have something torn up in the first 20 or 30 laps. It's just that tight and that challenging to negotiate this place.
The 08 of Ken Weaver bringing out our caution number 2. Let's take a look at how this happened.
There's our second and third place trucks, the 18 and the 14. See, top of your screen, all by himself. Just got a little bit loose right before the center of the corner. So around he went. We've got some great trucks right now on pit road. Carl Edwards did, as Wendy mentioned, Cowboy brought him in the pits. They're making some adjustments, topping it off with fuel. There's Carl right there.
He brought his Ford to pit road, and Rudiman was in as well. As you could see the NTN truck there following him out. So these guys just knew that the direction they were headed wasn't going to get them where they wanted to be, so they needed to work on those trucks.
It looked like they added at least 2 or 3 rounds of wedge in that truck.
We're only 28 laps in. I love this about the fact that this race is 250 laps now. It seemed like when it was 200, you just were really getting to where things were beginning to get interesting. It'd be over. There's plenty of racing here today, folks.
And Ray had mentioned earlier about pit strategy and possibly pitting around lap 160. This being a 250 lap race, halfway is 125. So potentially these guys could have pitted one time on this race.
But but the new Goodyear tire, the new generation tire that everybody's made such a big deal out of, it is really sticky for 10 or 15 laps, and then you have to manage your traction. The thing just won't bite like it did at first, and that's exactly how NASCAR asked Goodyear to design the tire, and they were smart enough to give them just what they wanted. And I think it will improve racing at a place like Martinsville, because you're not going to be able just to stay out there forever and ever. You're going to have to come to pit road. They think they can make it to 160 and then pit, but I think that's still a question.
Well, tomorrow the world's best drivers return to Fox for NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing in the Advanced Auto Parts 500. Defending champion Jeff Gordon looks to defend his title at one of NASCAR's toughest tracks. 17 weeks of high-speed thrills and excitement will continue on Fox. There's Jeff Gordon's DuPont Chevrolet. Now, you were out there in happy hour. Did you think he looked pretty good?
Yeah, I ran behind him a little bit. His car is really good, obviously. He got the pole, the third pole in a row he's had here in 3 out of the last 4, so obviously that team has done a nice job. Ray, what's going on down there in the pit? A lot of work, I see.
Well, yeah, Michael, and you're talking about when would you like to pit. I did a lot of pooling earlier this morning to find out what everybody would like. The perfect pit strategy here at Martinsville today would be to come in for your first time at lap 75 and get 4 tires, then come in about 155 to 165. That would be what all the crew chiefs would love to see happen. But here's the thing, keep your eye on the leader today. Sometimes here at Martinsville, being the leader is not always the greatest position. Because a couple times I've seen it happen where the leader pitted and nobody else did. Or if he decided not to pit, everybody else did. So we'll watch that as the day unfolds. But 75 and 160 are the perfect marks for a pit stop.
Yeah, and Ray, a lot of people talk of a one-stop strategy. I think that's going to take 2 stops. So we'll see how that plays out.
Be ready. Be ready. Green flag.
You notice Rick Crawford took over second place from Chad Sheff, and that happened right as the caution was coming out for that spin by Ken Weaver.
Jack Sprague continues to lead. This actually is the first race Jack Sprague has ever led at Martinsville in the 8 races he's run here.
That's an amazing statistic. The fact that Jack Sprague, 3-time champion, 23 wins in his career, 10 of them on a short track, and he's never led a lap at Martinsville.
Always a mainstay at the front. That's surprising to hear.
And Michael, we talked about how Rick Crawford was able to move in front of Chad Chaffin almost when the caution came out. You're somewhat familiar with being able to advance just before a caution.
Well, we advanced pretty well at Nashville when they all wiped out. I was watching the reaction from the NASCAR booth, which is just adjacent to the Speed Channel booth here, to see what they saw when the caution came out. I saw guys really rooting and gouging after the caution had fallen, and I was wanted to see how NASCAR sorted all that out. They allowed Rick to complete the pass. Wendy, are you down there in Rick's pit?
I sure am, and I was talking to their team, and they said before that caution, Rick Crawford came over the radio and said he didn't want to force the issues on the 18, and there's a spin on the track. Bill Lester.
Bill Lester around again.
No, Bill didn't spin. The 31 spun. He and the 17 got together and spun, and Bill was just kind of waiting for him to get out of the way. That was one of those cases where I think the flagman was a little bit quick with his flag. You'd like to see them when they just have an innocent spin like that, maybe give them a chance to get it sorted out and righted before we go under caution again, but didn't happen.
Dennis James, the flagman, a little rambunctious maybe, but caution number 3 comes out on lap 34. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Kroger 250 on Speed Channel is brought to you by Craftsman, the official tools of NASCAR and the NHRA. By the next Ford F-150, 2004 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. And by the United States Army, an army of one. Joe Armendia, the person that brought out our 3rd caution on lap 34. As they come out of turn number 4, Jack Sprague continues to lead the field to the green flag. We're back to racing.
Bobby Hamilton taking a peek to the outside of his teammate, Chad Chaffin.
Oh, and Chad left the room up there for him too, Phil. Saw him looking up there and decided to give him a little bit of room.
Boy, it seems like that is the best time to try to pass him on the outside. Right after restart, your tires are cooled off a little bit. Theirs are cooled off a little bit. You get a lot of grip up there, and it looks like he might make that pass work.
Looked like Chad almost backed off to let him by.
Would you back off for your boss?
Well, you're racing. This is different.
Yeah, but it's early too. Rick. You know, you don't want to mess anything up right now. You see a guy with a better truck, especially if it's your owner, you're going to cut him a break.
You mentioned tires. We talked a lot about tire pressure starting, like 8 pounds of tire pressure to start this race.
Goodyear recommends 25 pounds of air pressure on the right side, 15 pounds on the left side. Everybody always lets air out of these tires because they build up so much air. We've heard as low as 7 to 8 pounds on the left sides and maybe down as low as, 17 or 18 pounds on the right side. That's extremely low air pressure. So it takes these trucks a little bit of time to get that air pressure built back up into normal operating pressures.
Side-by-side racing for 10th. And Rick Crawford almost got by Jack Sprague for the lead.
Into the side by racing in the front.
And then Rick Crawford backs up and Bobby Hamilton moves up there.
Bobby's using that high line just like we saw him at Atlanta. He's making it work here at Martinsville.
Great battles all over the track. Back for 10th was Ted Musgrave and Matt Crafton. And up at the front, Bobby Hamilton moving through the field.
Sorry I jumped in on you there, Rick, but that 14 truck just drove right in the side of Jack. They had a little bit of argument for space over there off turn 2.
It's
Michael,
exciting.
Let's take a look at that right here. Coming off turn number 2. Look, Rick's going to get down on the inside. Going to drive up beside him in the center. Didn't get very far, but made some contact. Jack was diamonding the racetrack a little bit. That means slide up in the middle a little bit and then try to drive it off a little bit straighter. And that allowed Rick to stick his nose up in there, and then Jack came back down.
Wendy?
Well, I talked to Rick Crawford when we got here this weekend, and he said the best medicine for me was to get back in this truck. Remember, he had that injury on that left foot from the Atlanta accident. Actually, today he has 2 different size shoes on his feet. He normally wears a size 12. On his left foot, he's wearing a size 14 to allow for a plastic insert on that foot.
Another thing that we haven't pointed out, I think, is Gene Need as Rick Crawford's crew chief. It just seems like there's a comfort level there that those two guys are really hitting on all cylinders right now.
Rick told me at Atlanta, said, hey, we are on the same page. Gene and I worked together for 3 or 4 years, and so obviously I know Gene, and Rick Crawford said, hey, he is the right man for this operation. Ray Stongas, Rick's longtime crew chief, was not able to travel as much and fly because of health problems. Gene Need stepped right in there. They built some new trucks. This is a brand new truck, the lightest truck they've ever built. Went to Greenville to test it. It had a terrific test. Rick said, we're on the money.
I like the way Rick's truck looks, don't you, Phil? He's able to put that thing right down on the bottom of the racetrack. I know he lost his spot trying to get under the leader there, but watch him there. He's able to point that truck right at the bottom, and it's just working really well down there. That's how you win at Martinsville. You get your stuff down on the bottom like Rick's got it, you're in good shape.
You have 3 great veterans up front right now, and you just saw Bobby Hamilton inch back when he saw that he was going to be on the outside of Rick Crawford. He knows the preferred line is on the inside. He just said, you know what, Rick, you go ahead. It's early in this race.
That's like we talked on the restart there with Chad Chaffin giving Bobby the hole. Whether it's your team owner or not, this early in the race, it's really good to be smart. You want to take care of your stuff and just check out who's got a better truck. Maybe he passes you and you learn something off his line. You can go to work and figure out what he's doing and make your truck better. Wendy?
Ted Musgrave this morning said he wasn't worried about his starting spot. He said, we have a consistent truck. Anything can happen in 250 laps. We have that long to figure it out. He said right now he's been quiet on the radio, but he said he's just saving his equipment at this point.
We talk about Ted Musgrave. Gene Need, crew chief for Rick Crawford, was Ted Musgrave's crew chief for the last 2 years. They won 6 races together, 2 top 3 finishing the points, and does a great job, did a great job for Ultra, and is doing a great job over at Circle Bar Racing.
Great race for the lead. That's Jack Sprague in the 16 out in front of Rick Crawford in the 14. Good battle going on here. And the last time they went through 1 and 2, Rick Crawford got on the inside of Jack Sprague, bumped him a little bit, got him sideways, and now he's racing for the lead again.
I can't tell you how impressive this is, the way Crawford's making this pass. He's able to pinch the truck down on the bottom of the racetrack, but yet still have enough forward bite to drive up beside the leader.
Not lose any momentum whatsoever. Jack Sprague obviously knows right now that Rick Crawford's there. And again, Jack knows it's early in the race. He didn't expect Rick Crawford to stick his nose in there when they made contact earlier on, but he knows Rick Crawford's coming. There he is. Right there, side by side. Jack's hanging in there pretty well on the outside of the racetrack, but I think Rick will get him before it's all said and done.
But the longer he stays underneath Jack like that, Phil, it gets more and more difficult to pinch that truck down and keep those tires from heating up. So he'll have to figure out how long he wants to stay inside of Jack. But look at there, really impressive the way he's able to drive off the corner.
And Michael, you use the word cats a lot. Bobby Hamilton's looking like a cat just waiting to chomp on his prey here, sitting back there watching these 2 guys race in front of him.
We saw him hang out at Atlanta on top of the racetrack and just destroy the field there through the middle stages. So he's observing, trying to figure out which way he wants to head.
Got Tina Gordon, lap truck to 13 truck on the inside. It's going to force Rick Crawford to back off. Follow Jack. Well, maybe. Jack actually got a little bit wide right there. Rick able to take advantage. Oh,
And
big time
Bobby
sideways.
Hamilton makes the pass on Jack Sprague.
Jack got big time sideways off turn number 4 there. He got a little bit out of the groove.
Just be nice and smooth and he will drive away, I promise you.
Ray, what's going on with Rick Crawford?
Well, hey, Rick, you know, we said at the top of the show that Sprague had run all those races here and never led. Crawford hasn't been out front much either. He's run 8 times here at Martinsville and only led 20 laps. But I think you guys are dialed into what's great about his truck is he's so good on the bottom coming off turn 4. He said he's a little bit tight on the exit of 2, but it feels great coming off 4. Crawford gets out front. Remember, he has had 4 consecutive top 10 finishes here at Martinsville.
Let's take a look at that pass for the lead. How Crawford got in front.
He backed off with a lap truck here. Jack went in on the outside of Tina, slid up a little bit wide, got off the concrete into the asphalt, could not get the grip, and Rick took advantage and slid through the middle.
Yeah, you had to like Rick saying, this is my opportunity. I want to capitalize on it right here.
Bobby Hamilton did the same thing, followed right behind Rick, and so Bobby now sits in second. Jack Sprague has dropped back to third. Great side-by-side racing, bumping and banging short track style at Martinsville Speedway. We'll be back with more green flag racing. Welcome back to the Kroger 250 Live on Speed. We're riding along with Federated Auto Parts number 52 of Ken Schrader, looking back at Steve Park in the 62, and just behind them.
Now we've got a side-by-side battle for the lead. Bobby Hamilton making the pass on the outside.
Bobby knows how to take advantage of the racetrack nobody else runs in, doesn't he?
You know, we sat there, we said, well, Bobby's just riding right now. It looks like he's in a comfortable spot. He can see the leader. He's a truck length in front of him. So he's just going to ride there right now. And then, bam, all of a sudden he makes the pass for the lead.
His truck just looks like it's really hooking up, exiting the corners. See if we can see what happened here when he gets the lead.
He's got a great run through the center of the corner. Pulled up on the outside of Rick. Knows he's on the outside there, gives him some room, and Bobby just drives down the corner, and the thing sticks.
Bobby Hamilton has said that Daytona and Atlanta were probably the best handling trucks he's had, and he continues that here at Martinsville.
And that's a truck of his own design, essentially. This is a brand new truck. It's built from the ground up in the shop. The only thing they don't do is build the engines. Wendy, what's going on down there?
Well, we were listening to Gene Need on the radio, and he's actually coaching Rick Crawford around this track. You saw Bobby Hamilton just got by him. Gene Need said, I hate to tell you this, but you're getting into the corner a little too hard. You need to start saving your tires. Don't let them all go now. We have a long race to run.
Ted Musgrave and Travis Quapple battling for 8th. Musgrave in the Mopar number 1. Travis Quapple the Line X24.
Now, we talked about Travis Quapple's struggles here in 2003, and he's not where he wants to be with that truck today. A truck we saw pit earlier, Phil, and make some serious adjustment was the 99 of Carl Edwards, and that team did a great job, Cowboy and the guys did, to make the adjustments that it's taken to get Carl on up through the field. Rudiman pitted with him. Rudiman's running 31st, a lap down. Carl's all the way up to 17th. And has a very strong truck after those adjustments.
Just actually got by Mark McFarland for the 16th position. And remember, he didn't change tires. He just adjusted on that truck.
You just mentioned Rudiman a lap down. Rudiman's 4th in points right now in the Craftsman Truck Series, and he's already been lapped.
Tells you about the intense competition. When you have a long green flag run, you really get to see who's got their truck set up for the longer haul. And David's been off since the start of the race, for sure. And Bobby's looked like his strong suit would be the long run, and it's beginning to show that way.
Just saw a glimpse of them lapping Terry Cook, another great truck, a multi-winner on the short tracks in the Craftsman Truck Series. He also goes a lap down. He's back in the 29th position.
28 trucks still on the lead lap. Kevin Love the furthest back. And the other one just in front of Kevin Love in 27th, who actually moved up to 26, is Brad Keselowski. So Kevin Love and Brad Keselowski running their first ever truck race today.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski from Michigan. K Automotive's been around since the Truck Series started. That's Bob and Case, son, youngest son. Brad doing a great job. Had a test at Texas last week, a Ford test. Did a terrific job down there and doing a great job. Got in the field on time, doing a great job staying out of trouble, still on the lead lap. Would love to get a caution flag to get caught back up, but really, just wants to run 250 laps or as many as he can. When the checkered flag falls, he wants to be on the racetrack.
Bobby Hamilton out in front, led 9 of the 75 laps so far. We've had 3 different leaders of this race, and as they come to the line, let's look at the speeds. I believe Dennis Setzer has been really doing well, saving his tires and running very fast.
Remember, Dennis Setzer started back in the 10th position. The admittedly short track ace, Martinsville ace, the only 2-time winner here at this racetrack, already up into the 3rd position, has passed recently Jack Sprague to get into the 3rd position. He's about 2.5 seconds behind right now. There's a great race. That's the 33 of Andy Petrie, the 6th of Matt Crafton. There's this, well, there's too many to mention. They're all running a pack.
They're racing for the 7th spot. There's about, look at all of them lined up there. You can see Quapple diving to the inside of the Dickies Dodge. Chad Chaffin, David Starr doing a nice job today in that Spear Chevy.
A little sideways off of 2 there.
Currently in 3rd, we're riding on board the 46 of Dennis Setzer. We call him short track ace. Ray, what have you got?
Well, Rick, I just thought it was a little bit odd that they did not show up this weekend with their favorite old chassis called Stan. But the thing is, with building all these brand new trucks this year, they found one they liked a lot better. This one is called Token, and earlier on the radio, Dennis Setzer said he was very, very tight, and he was not happy with this set of tires. His crew chief, Danny Gill, said, don't worry, set 3 is what we'll put on next, and they'll be much looser. We have a big spin right now on the racetrack, and I believe this will set up our first round of pit stops.
Big spin, Ray mentioned. And a big problem for the 18 Dickies Dodge of Chad Chaffin. He got some serious body damage as he was caught up in that accident.
Just happened to be looking right at that one, Rick. Looked like Andy Petrie got into turn 3 a little deeper than he meant to. And I think he clobbered Travis Quapple and then sent Travis into the 18, but I'm not sure. There was a chain reaction wreck, I will tell you that.
There's Robert Humphrey. You saw a little bit of damage. There's Chad Chaffin, the Dickies Dodge. Number 18, our outside pole sitter.
Chad Chaffin got spun around and probably wouldn't have had much damage, but had to back up to get the truck pointing in the right direction. And when he backed up, he backed right into traffic. The right rear quarter panel bent in very hard. Let's take a look at what happened.
Here they are entering turn number 3. That's Andy Petrie runs in the back of the 75 of David Starr. That in turn knocks him into the 18 of Chad Chaffin. Now everyone's just trying to find a way out.
Oh, and he didn't keep his brakes locked, like Rick says, trying to get the thing in a position so he wouldn't lose a lap. Could get on his way back right in front of the 22, I think.
I think it was Robert Huffman, maybe the 12 truck. We saw the damage there. Another bad break for Robert Huffman. He's had nothing but bad break. Another shot of it there. You see Andy driving the corner, gets into the 75. Watch now, if he just held his brakes right here, he wouldn't back down, and it is 12, Robert Huffman.
But Andy just, Andy overshot that turn and ran into the 75.
Steve Park also involved in that, trying to come to a stop, but got in behind the 18 of Chad Chaffin.
Here comes all the leaders down pit road.
Bobby Hamilton leading the field down pit road right now as they will get a big stop taking place. Dennis Setzer goes in for the first one. He has the first pit stall.
He's going to have 4 tires. He's going to take a little bit of wedge out of the left rear. We heard him talk about being light, a little bit tight. He's going to take some wedge out of the left rear. Ray Dunlap.
Bobby Hamilton is coming in here in the Square D Dodge, guys, and he said that he is just a little bit tied off. They're going to take some air off of the front of the grill here as they are going to do 4 tires for Hamilton. He has said not much on the radio throughout the course of the day. His crew chief, Danny Rollins, changes the front tires. Dale Newcomb is on the rears. Now let's go to Wendy.
Well, the 14 truck of Rick Crawford has just pulled out. He got 4 fresh tires, but no changes on the 14 truck. Gene crew chief came over the radio and said, "Are you having fun yet?" And Rick Crawford said, "Yeah," when I was in the lead. And he said, "I think he just won the race off pit road." And he said, "Well, if you save those tires, we'll get you there in the end."
Rick Crawford winning the race off pit road. Right behind him, the 16 of Jack Sprague. all of the trucks came in for pits. And Ray, what's going on?
Well, Rick, big track bar adjustment for Sprague. He was telling me that he wanted to do an air pressure adjustment too, but they decided track bar was definitely what he needed because the truck was a good bit tight for him coming off the corner. So they made that adjustment, and Hamilton did get blocked in just a little bit here in the pits. Right in front of him was the number 8, who did not get going quickly as they would like to. So Hamilton lost a spot or two there on the way out of the pits.
We see Brad Keselowski in the number 29, the K Automotive 29. I'm not sure what he was thinking. He was rifling down pit road, and pit road speed is 35 miles an hour, and he was well beyond that and actually ran into the wall.
Well, you know,
Take a look at the damage on the right. It wouldn't turn a lick. I couldn't get the wheel to turn. Talk about leaving a pitch, you hit the wall? 4.
That's his father, Bob Keselowski, asking, what do you mean you hit the wall? But he, as you mentioned, Rick, he was going about 70 miles an hour when he got down to exit the pit road, and it follows the contour of the racetrack. So you can see there's black marks on the outside pit wall where he made some pretty hard contact on pit road.
Well, I'm sure he was just trying to avoid going a lap down. It's okay to speed a little bit when you're leaving the pit.
Here's why we're under caution number 4. Trucks getting spun around in turn number 4. We'll be back with Green Flag Racing as Rick Crawford leads the field when we come back. Welcome back to Martinsville Speedway. The Kroger 250, the race number 3 for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. We're under caution number 4. Problem in turn number 4, but we'd like to talk to a guy who wasn't involved in that accident, Ken Schrader.
Kenny, it's Michael up in the speed booth. Raise your hand if you can hear me. How's your day going? It looks like you got a really competitive truck.
It's pretty good, Michael, but I can't get nowhere. We started back 24th, and got a little bit far up in the start, and then missed a couple little accidents and had some trouble in the pits. We're just kind of maintaining so far, so need some long runs.
Did you see the accidents, and were you able to get out of them without any damage?
Yeah, I saw trucks facing the wrong direction. One of them was Petrie. Do you believe that? I couldn't. That surprised me. But we got through without any damage.
Well, that's good. I'm going to give you another news flash here that won't surprise you. It could have been his fault too.
Well, I'm not saying that. You know, I might have to work for him again someday. He's my buddy, but he just spins out a lot. You know.
10-4. Well, you hang in there. Keep that truck pointed in the right direction. That's all you can be responsible for.
Those that were involved.
I'm working on it, buddy.
That 4th crash: Musgrave, Montgomery, Huffman, Chaffin, Petrie, Park, and Starr. We'll be back with more racing from Martinsville, Virginia. Back at Martinsville Speedway, and very indicative of short track racing, a lot of banging, bumping. Bill Lester involved early on.
A lot of spinning and sliding. There's a little action for the lead right there, Jack Sprague and Rick Crawford. Here's our most recent caution.
Caution number 4. And Jeff Hammond is helping us out a little bit with DW, who has now moved up into 9th position. Jeff, what's going on over there?
Right now, everything's going pretty good with this Toyota pickup truck today. Guys made a great stop here. Bill Davis's guys, Winston, Axtell cut through. He's working on this car today. Brought us down pit road. He got us out in 9th place and made a little bit of adjustment to the DW's truck. It was a little bit tight. Getting off, the center off, Darrell couldn't get back to throttle like he needed to, so we went down one round on the right rear, took a little air pressure out of the right front tire. See how this year kind of plays out. We're getting ready to go back green. We hope we'll be able to keep this truck up front.
You need to get on him, Jeff, and tell him he's got some good trucks around him. He's got to step up the pace here, challenge that thing a little bit on this restart and hold his position.
He's got to get up on the wheel right now, Mike. All these dogs right now in front of him and around him are hungry. He's going to have to go.
Be ready.
Larry McReynolds letting him know, be ready.
Green flag.
Green flag flies, and Rick Crawford won the race off pit road, leading the field through 1 and 2.
And more importantly, won the race down in turn number 1. He was able to drive in front of Terry Cook, the lap truck, have a clean shot down to the bottom of the racetrack.
Take a look at the biggest movers. Chase Montgomery moving 18 spots, Crafton 13 spots. DW 12 spots he's moved.
You have to take into consideration the 99 of Carl Edwards. He started last, and he's driven his way all the way up to 8th. And that truck, he's driving on the inside of Shane Mill there. That truck just seems to get better and better as he's racing out up to 7.
Andy Houston also starting in the back because of the motor change up into 13th position.
Bobby Hamilton was the big loser on that round of pit stops. He came out in 4th spot, 4th or 5th, in fact.
DW's bumper cam. Whoa, look at how close they are racing there. Shane Mill just in front of him in the 15.
This is what we were talking about with Hammond there. On these restarts, you got to be really aggressive. They're going to try to get around the outside of you. They're going to try to get up underneath you. Ray, what's going on?
Hey, Michael, Shane Mill also lost a few spots on the pit road, but not because his crew made a mistake. It was because a tire rolled into their pit area from the number 8 crew, and it tripped their rear tire changer, so they lost about 3 seconds, and they figure at least 3 spots on the racetrack. Shane said, what in the world happened there? But looks like we're going to have a big pass for the lead.
Jack Sprague gets by Rick Crawford on the outside as they go across the start-finish line. And look at Mike Skinner. Mike Skinner right in the mix of this now in that Toyota 42.
I'll tell you, Michael, I'm liking the outside of the racetrack right now. These guys are really making some great moves on the outside.
Bobby Hamilton almost into the back of Mike Skinner, and that's the way Atlanta ended.
That is good racing. Like you said, Phil, they're able to take advantage of 2 grooves on this track. Sprague has made an adjustment to his truck. I think that's obvious. And when he was in the front earlier, he could just stay just ahead of the other guys. Now look at him. He's opened his lead up.
Rick Crawford was running on the low side of the track earlier. He was very impressive in passing. And now he's trying to get down on the inside of Bobby Hamilton again to get that position back.
You know, I noticed before that accident, we were talking a little bit about Dennis Setzer moving up into the 3rd position. I was watching his line on the racetrack, and he was running the top of the racetrack, the 2nd groove. He had a clean racetrack in front of him, but he was running on the top of the racetrack. So a lot of these drivers really like the top of the racetrack.
And at Martinsville, there's a lot of close calls, and DW just had a close call. Let's take a look.
You can see there, he's got his right front tire front wheel all wrinkled up.
Oh, and problems in turn 4. That's Steve Park, and it looks like Brad Keselowski in the 29.
Caution is out.
So caution 5 comes out before the close call that we're going to see of DW. And so that brings out caution 5. Steve Park, Brad Keselowski involved in that mishap.
They were both fortunate enough to stay on the lead lap without any damage.
Oh, Bill Lester's got some serious damage to the front end. So after 102 laps, our 5th caution has come out at Martinsville. A lot more bumping and banging than each driver's won. And welcome back to the Kroger 250 Live on Speed. We're under caution number 5 as Steve Park and Brad Keselowski had some problems on turn 102. And not turn 102, lap 102. We were going to take a peek at Darrell Waltrip having a little bit of a close call earlier. Let's take a look at this.
He squeezes up underneath the 31, and his wheel catches contact with the 31's wheel, RM India, and it about spun Darrell out.
Now we've got a shot from the valence of the 11. This is a tire shot.
Listen to him work the throttle when he gets into the 31 here.
Whoa! Now watch Andy Houston.
Right by.
Does that tell you how intense and close things are at Martinsville? One little slip and somebody's going to shoot right by you.
He took 11th position away there. Let's find out what's going on with Darrell.
Hey, Darrell, what about the action on the backstretch there? You got into the 31 and looked like you had your hands full.
Yeah, I was thinking that was going to happen, and I was right again. I tried to give the guy, all the room I could, but anyway, it didn't hurt it too bad. I think it might have helped it.
We're looking at it. The damage does not seem to be anything that I would worry about if I were you. Do you feel comfortable on these restarts? Is your truck the way you want it to be right now, or are you better in the longer haul?
Better over the longer run, and this thing's got some kind of weird transmission in it, and it's killing me on restarts.
Roger, you got last fall's winner right behind you, so you're kind of up in the middle of the hornet's nest right now, so get with them. You're doing a great job, brother.
Yeah, Roger. Yeah, I think after the tire pressures come up, we're pretty good, but we're a little slow getting the pressures up.
We talked about tire pressures earlier, about getting the pressures up, and it takes a little bit while longer. Just depends on if you start lower.
Depends on where you're at compared to the others. But he feels like his truck's a little slow on the get-go and cost him a couple of spots on that restart. He fell back to 12th.
We've got the dream team.
Green flag.
Out. Jeff Hammond, Larry McReynolds. Possibly 2 champions battling for the lead as the restart takes place, and Ken Weaver gets spun around coming to the green flag. We'll see if he's not able to get going before the caution comes out, and that's caution 6.
Stay low. They're coming. Stay low.
Yeah, they felt like they had to throw the caution flag because the leaders were bearing down into turn number 3, and with Ken was sitting sideways in the middle of the racetrack.
There was no way for NASCAR
over here and come under the throttle.
predict whether that truck was going to get going or not.
Okay, the old one,
needed it.
get it out.
He had a drink bottle fall in there, he said.
Said it fell over underneath the throttle or something like that.
Let me get to it.
Play-by-play action here. Ken stopping on the backstretch.
I don't think I would get it out there. Now he's a lap down.
To get his water bottle out, and he lost the lap.
I got it.
Oh,
man, it stuck my goofing throttle.
Coming to the start, you see he gets spun around. He said it stuck his throttle.
He just went in the corner way harder than he was going to be able to make because the throttle hung because of his drink bottle. And unfortunately, when stopping on the backstretch to try to get the drink bottle from under the throttle, he lost a lap in the process. So
he was already down 4 laps. So obviously the one more is not going to hurt that much. But Ken Weaver bringing out the 6th caution of the day in Martinsville
with a stuck goofing throttle. I like that.
We'll be back for more on Speed. Welcome back to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series 3rd race of the season, Kroger 250, live on Speed. Our 4th race comes up from Mansfield Motorsports in Mansfield, Ohio, May 16th. We'll be there to cover all the racing action from start to finish when the trucks hit the .44 mile oval. So our shortest track of the year will be run in Mansfield, and that's our next race, May 16th. That takes place at 2 p.m. Craftsman's always on the cutting edge of technology when it comes to tools. Today we want to spotlight another important piece of equipment that Craftsman makes available to all of us in Craftsman Tool Tech.
You know, Craftsman started inventing a boxed end wrench right after the caveman invented the wheel. But the problem is, in the tight tolerances of a NASCAR vehicle, a lot of times there's just not enough room to get the wrench in where you would like it. But here's what's great. They've now come up with a ratcheting end wrench. You put it on your bolt, and you can loosen that really easily. But what's even better, you go from loosen to tighten with just a flip of a switch. And even better than that, all of these tools are made in America and guaranteed forever.
That's a good set of tools.
I like the sound of that. Made in America and guaranteed forever.
I think that was David Starr's truck that Ray was doing that on, and I hope they went back and checked over everything he tried to tighten there.
Exactly. Ray might be one of the over-the-wall guys for him.
David Rudeman in the 17 truck, we've documented he's 4th in the points and has been running back in 28th to 30th spot. Looks like Bobby Kennedy and those boys have improved his truck. He's up to 24th and just got the free pass. He's back on the lead lap. See if he can parlay that into anything. Ray, those guys feeling better about their truck now?
Well, a little bit, Michael, but a lot of guys are not feeling very good about the way the free pass is going today. Chad Chaffin ran the stop sign down here because he says the rule says that you only go to the tail end of the longest line, which would make him the beneficiary. That NASCAR has said, no, we've decided we're going to hold you a lap. And also Terry Cook in the 10 truck thinks that he should be the next guy to get the free pass to come back around and get back on the lead lap. But this time, there's just a lot of discussion down here about what's going on. And also, this just adds a lot of cautions to each of these races. I'm all for getting rid of this rule. I don't know what you guys think up there, but it sure has brought out a lot of discussion here. And I believe there's going to be quite a lot of discussion over in Wayne's World when today's race is over about who should have gotten all these free passes.
I believe that when there's confusion, the race should be red flagged. You know, they should just stop the race, especially at a place like Martinsville here where you so quickly can eat up caution flag laps. The it's just hard on the competitors. It's hard on the fans to watch. So when there's a little bit of confusion, and you're going to have confusion, I don't want to get rid of the rule, Phil. I like it. It makes racing safer. It's good for competition as well. When there's confusion, throw out the red, stop, sort it out, and then make your decision and go forward. What's that going to hurt?
As you mentioned, nobody likes caution flag laps. Drivers, teams, fans, officials. So just stop the thing so you don't keep burning caution lap after caution lap.
I like that idea, Ray. We're going to go with that one.
Coming up on the halfway point, as they go by the start-finish line, green flag flies. Jack Sprague, not quite as good a start as Mike Skinner had. Skinner was almost on the back of Sprague, and now Sprague is able to put some distance between himself and second place Mike Skinner. Skinner on the inside of Chad Chaffin. Again, Chaffin is a lapped truck right now.
I think Chad Chaffin's in a situation he doesn't need to force the issue. Right now he is the first truck 1 lap down. All he needs to do is make sure the guys that are 1 lap down stay behind him. He doesn't need to really get in the middle of the race for the lead, which right now he is. He's between Jack Sprague, our leader, and Mike Skinner, our second place truck. That's going to really make Mike Skinner mad. If he gets up there, he's faster than Chad Chaffin. He's going to want to slide him out of the way because he wants to go after the lead.
Right now, the only truck the 18's racing is the 84. You see the white truck down on the inside of turn 1 there? That's Cottle. He's a lap down as well. So he's the one that the 18 needs to keep his eyeball on.
And almost running into the 14, Jamie Cottle in the 84 was able to get out of the way, I guess, of Rick Crawford. More on Rick Crawford, Wendy.
Well, you guys were just talking about how most drivers don't like those caution flag laps. Well, the 14 truck loves them right now. Crew Chief Gene Need came over the radio on that caution, and he said this may have just turned into a one-stop race for us. So save those tires. This may be the last set you get. He said if we get 15 caution laps for the rest of this race, we can make it.
I think it's safe to say we'll get 15 caution laps.
Yeah, have you seen how some of these cats are driving?
Oh, three wide as they come out of turn 4.
Check it out, all the way down the front straightaway.
Somebody's going to have to back off.
On the inside, Shane Meal in the middle, and John Wood on the outside. John Wood, last year's winner, native of Stewart, Virginia, just down the road from here. We're on board with Andy Houston as he has a view of the racing going on. John Wood on his outside.
Matt Crafton was on the inside of that 3-wide battle, and he said, I'm going to go in down in the corner. You fellas work the rest of it out. He came out with the position.
Great side-by-side racing continues. This beautiful short track, Martinsville Speedway.
Darrell is in a battle here. He's got Schrader on the outside, Ted up ahead. You can see Brandon Witt. He's a rookie that's done a great job coming into this series and figuring out how to get competitive in a hurry, Phil.
I think this is the only second short track that he's run in a Craftsman Truck Series. You mentioned on the lead lap, doing a terrific job back in the top 15.
On board with Kenny Schrader, looking over at DW, trying to race him on the inside of the track.
Darrell looks like he's got his truck working well. You can see him peeking ahead of Schrader there.
And Darrell had mentioned that he didn't like restarts. Well, we've had 6 of those already.
Trouble right in front of Darrell.
Aramendia spinning in the 31. Gets it straightened out. And no caution comes out as they show the halfway point. We just go 125 laps. We're at halfway, and that time the caution doesn't come out.
Good move by Wayne Otten and his bunch to hold that caution flag to see if that truck can get going on its own. Joe Aramendia got turned around, got back going right quick.
Let's take a closer look at it.
Joe cut down in front of Shane Meal a little bit, it looked like, and Shane was in the hole, and it turned the 31 around.
Nice 360, kept on going, straight down the straightaway.
Trucks go by without incident.
See Joe waving. It looks like he's going to back up. There's some contact. Chad Chaffin on the bumper of the leader, Jack Sprague. We said that it would make Rick Crawford mad, or actually it was Mike Skinner at the time, the second place truck, mad if Chad Chaffin was in the way, and it's going to make Jack Sprague mad a little bit that Chad Chaffin's beating on his back bumper.
But Chad's obviously got a fast truck. He's driven away from second place Mike Skinner and is applying a little bit of pressure there. He's just waiting for the caution flag to fall so he can get the free pass.
Yeah, this is the way we started the race. Jack Sprague was on the pole. Chad Chaffin was outside pole. They were racing for the lead early on. Chad Chaffin had some problems. One guy who's not having problems is Matt Crafton. He's running very well. Let's go down and find out what's going on. Wendy?
Well, I talked to crew chief Wally Rogers before the race, and he said, we're not worried about starting in that 23rd spot. You saw that graphic earlier in the race that he was one of the biggest movers, and he sure is. He's moved up to the 8th spot. They haven't made a whole lot of changes on that truck today, and Matt Crafton's been pretty quiet. He's just trying to save his equipment while he gets to the front.
Remember, Matt Crafton's coming off his best career finish at Atlanta 5 weeks ago with a good top 5 run, so he's doing a terrific job in Kevin Harvick's Goodwin Chevrolet.
Now, you remember at the beginning of the year, he was my championship pick. I like that combination of Harvick and Crafton in that Chevrolet from Goodwrench, and they've proven to be competitive for sure. It'll be interesting to see how they blossom as we go into 2004, if they're able to up the competition level a little bit and challenge Bobby Hamilton and those guys that have been up front every week so far this year.
You know, we've talked about we had a race in the middle of February at Daytona. Then we had a race in the middle of March in Atlanta, and now here we are in the middle of April and having a race at Martinsville, and it's going to be another month till our next race in Mansfield, Ohio. Once we start Mansfield, we're going to start racing almost every week, and that's when these guys really have to have their equipment together, and they have to have their program on the money to make a move during the summer.
Look here, Bobby Hamilton. He's starting to drop back. We talked about how strong he was early on. He's back into 6th position, and Travis Kvapil is battling for that position right behind him. Travis Kvapil, we haven't talked a lot about him, but he's the only driver with 2 top 5s this year.
And he's also a guy that had top 10s about every week last year. He just was a machine clicking off those finishes in 2003. This place was his Achilles heel last year. Couldn't get the job done here at Martinsville. Obviously, they've learned a lot from that experience. He's challenging one of the guys that was the stoutest truck on the track earlier, looking for that 6th spot.
You see his average finish of 3rd, a 2nd at Daytona, 4th at Atlanta. You know, he has 24 consecutive lead lap finishes currently right now. Ray?
Bobby Hamilton out on the racetrack. A couple people have said, what's going on now that he's dropped back to 6th? I went up to his crew chief and said, why is Bobby back there? He said, patience, my friend, patience. There is no reason to go up there and beat the fenders off this thing. We got a long way to go. So patience is paying off for Hamilton. Wendy?
Travis Kvapil has been considered the consistency king here at Martinsville. He's completed all 950 laps that he's raced around this track, but he said, I'm sick of being considered consistent. He said, it's good, but I want to win a race, so you should see him moving up quickly. He said, everyone believes we have a good truck. He says, I think we'll make it through the front towards the end of the race. He predicted a top 5 finish.
And that's a good prediction.
Based on pretty good history.
Yeah, if you go off of your average.
A little close to the outside wall there coming off the corner. Got a little bit loose. Ken Schrader coming in the pits right now, the Federated Auto Parts Chevrolet. It's got to be unscheduled, Michael.
It is, for sure. I saw him rooting around on the 75. It's like they got in some sort of battle.
Looks like is that a spring rubber, Michael? It kind of looks like a spring rubber sitting on the backstretch.
Yeah, I don't believe that'll hurt anything.
One amazing thing, we're at lap 139. We're over halfway of this race. All 36 trucks are still running in this race right now.
Just tells you how tough trucks are. You know, we've seen these guys beating into each other and running over each other.
Great battle for 3rd. Rick Crawford and Dennis Setzer. Crawford getting a little bit high, and here comes Dennis Setzer looking for the opening.
Looks like he just turned the wheel, Michael, and jumped in the throttle. He didn't gain on Rick off the corner, but he did not lose any momentum. So he really, obviously, to say that Dennis Setzer has a good truck at Martinsville is kind of redundant.
But the most impressive performance of the day, in my opinion, is this guy that started last. The 99 of Carl Edwards is right behind Setzer. He started last, but he wasn't right at the beginning of the race, Phil. They came to pit road and made adjustments under the first caution, got that thing tuned up and going, and now he's a contender to win this race.
And I think I may have shocked you with that stat that I threw out during the starting lineup. Anytime Carl Edwards has changed a motor, he's won. Well, he changed a motor today. Ray, what's going on?
And Rick, he is driving chassis number 27. This has been a good one for the Roush Super Chips team. They won with it at Kentucky and at Nashville. And I asked Carl earlier today what he thought his chances were. He said, well, I don't know. He says, this is an awfully tough racetrack, and those veterans are going to be tough to beat. But it sounds like the adjustments they've made on that 99 have put him in contention.
Well, they worked to get by Bobby Hamilton because now Carl Edwards has moved into 5th position. Darrell Waltrip made the comment earlier when I told him that Carl Edwards had changed an engine. He said, I'm starting to see a trend here. There's a little bit of a trend with this kid changing motors and winning. Short track racing. Dennis Setzer on the inside, Rick Crawford on the outside. That is a battle for third. Caution flag flies as Tina Gordon slides up in turn number 1 and comes to a stop. And so our 7th caution comes out at lap 144.
Just over 100 laps to go. Are these guys going to pit now and say, okay, we're going to put fresh tires on? They pitted, all the guys pitted at lap 82. They've got 60 laps on their tires.
I can't wait to get back from break.
And before they go to break, or before they come into break, we're going to break. Welcome back to the Kroger 250. We're under caution number 7. Let's take a look at what we saw while we were at break.
I told you I couldn't wait to get back from break. We knew it was going to be a real strategy call here, whether to pit or whether not to. Skinner was running in the 2nd or 3rd spot. He came to pit road along with several other lead lap trucks. But our leader, Jack Sprague, Dennis Setzer, Carl Edwards, Hamilton, a bunch of those guys stayed on the track.
Remember last fall, Dennis Setzer had about 40 or 50 more laps on his tires than John Wood did, and John ended up beating him when Dennis Setzer probably had the best truck of the day. So he lost a race by staying out, but yet he stayed out again.
Mike Skinner's pit man, Rick Wren, is standing by with Wendy. Wendy?
Rick, what was your strategy there? About 10 trucks came in.
Well, there's only 105 laps to go when that caution come out, and I suspect we'll have another 20 or 30 laps of caution. I mean, there's only like 70 laps of race. Right now, we can make it to the end from here, and everybody in front of us has got to pit one more time. And track position at this racetrack is really big. So I think it was the right thing, and I really don't understand why the other guys didn't pit.
All right, Rick Wren pretty confident with his decision. Let's go down to Ray.
Well, Wendy, they made the same decision for Chad Chaffin and the Dickies Dodge. He was the beneficiary of the free pass this time, and they said, look, we think Sprague and some of those guys out front are going to be forced not to pit because it'll be so late in this race. So let's come in and get those 4 tires. I think it was a good call. Chad made the call in the truck. He said, I just don't believe we've got any chance of staying on the lead lap or winning this race if we don't pit now.
I think if you're Chad Chaffin or Rudeman, some of those guys that were back in the lower part of the top 20, it was the perfect thing to do. You don't have much to lose. Come in, get some tires. Maybe the green flag stays out for another 30 or 40 laps, and then it's definitely too late to pit, Phil.
Yeah, I didn't think it maybe was a good move to pit, but we saw Jack Sprague driving away from Mike Skinner. So Mike Skinner says, hey, I can't beat Jack Sprague. You know, after we run a few laps or after restart, he's going to drive away from me. So I've got to do something different. I'm going to come in and get tires. Hopefully, maybe he'll come in later. I'll have track position. I think Rick Crawford said the same thing.
You got to almost feel like that the pitting is now over, Phil. Pit road's closed for these guys that are going to be serious contenders winning this race. That was a big call for the 16 truck and the 46 truck, those guys that were up front to say, you know, we like what we got. We're staying on the track.
Guys that came in, Mike Skinner, Rick Crawford in the 14 came in, John Wood in the 50 came in. Those were all top 10 trucks that decided to pit.
Ted Musgrave, Steve Park, and David Rudeman also
contenders.
Yeah, also David Rudeman. I'm really impressed with the job Bobby Kennedy and those fellas have done with that truck, because he obviously got lapped very early on, was fortunate enough to get a free pass, raced his way into the top 20, and hey, he didn't have much to lose. There's only 23 trucks at the time on the lead lap, so hey, why not come in and put tires on?
That truck was dog meat when this race started. I mean, he was the last place truck, and now they've got it into a position where he could contend for at least a top 10.
Was it goofing bad?
It was goofing bad.
Be ready. Green flag.
Jack Sprague takes the green on the restart. Dennis Setzer, short track ace, right behind him. Ray?
Guys, Jack Sprague has been talking on the radio thinking they will pit one more time in this race. I can't believe they would give up that track position. But his spotter, Dave Fuge, up on the top says, I think we can wait another 30 or 40 laps before we get tires. I can't imagine that they would be able to get back through as many trucks are on the lead lap, but they may still pit one more time today. Wendy, what about the 46?
The 46 does plan to pit later on, about 70 or 80 laps to go. What happened there on that caution, they were going to follow Mike Skinner, and Mike Skinner came down pit road past the commit line. So Setzer actually was supposed to come down pit road and follow Skinner, but he missed the commit line, so they're going to wait for about 70, 80 laps to go. They plan to top it off and take 4 tires and a minor track bar adjustment.
I love seeing how this is going to play out. Will the caution flag fall with 70 or 80 laps to go like these guys are hoping for? Or are we under green for 40 or 50 laps? Then it'll be definitely too late for them to pit and get tires.
Travis Quapple, our 5th place truck right there, the Line-X Toyota.
Take a look at the save.
Joe Aramendia, the 31 truck on the inside.
Whoa.
Jamie Caudle in the 84 truck gets in the back of Travis. Nice little save there and allows Shane Meal to get by the 07 of Shane Sieg.
That looked like dirt track racing. We've seen Travis Quapple do this before. Miami last year, he got sideways on a restart and was able to hold on. And actually, that was the start of the race. It was like the first lap.
The very first corner, I think, of the first lap, and his whole
sideways.
season could have gone out the window. Then he saved the truck, came back and won the championship.
Yep.
We haven't talked a whole lot about Shane Meal, and that's been one of the most solid guys all day long. He's kept his truck right up there in the top 10 all day long.
We're on board with Andy Houston in that Team ASC CarQuest Dodge. He has moved all the way up to 8th position. We talked about the 2 that changed motors to start this race, Carl Edwards and Andy Houston. Andy Houston running very well now in 8th position. Great battle for 3rd right here, Bobby Hamilton and Carl Edwards. Carl Edwards trying to hold off hard-charging Bobby Hamilton, but not able to do it. Hamilton takes away the 4th spot.
Bobby Hamilton may be sitting here saying, okay, we're going to stay out here. So I need to work my way so I can get in contact with the leaders in case they decide not to pit. I don't want to be back 5 or 6 seconds. I can see Dennis Setzer in front of me. Jack Sprague's about almost a straightaway in front of Bobby Hamilton. So he may say, now, hey, I've got to go.
We've got just over 90 laps to go. And here are the trucks that stopped and took tires. Mike Skinner, Rick Crawford, currently being shown in 13th and 14th position. Now, is that too far back with 90 laps to go?
I don't think it is at this point, but man, I'd hate to think I was going to try to bite off another 20 laps or so.
Joe Aramendi gets spun around in the backstretch. We've seen that before. This time the caution flies.
Created a lot of smoke there. I think that's why they had to throw the caution flag.
Wow, now this is what we were looking for, Phil. This gives these guys that think they needed to pit with 80 or 90 to go the chance to do so. Are they going to take advantage of it, or will they stay on the track? We didn't see Mike Skinner and those guys making a whole lot of headway cutting through the crowd.
Jack Sprague ran a 21:20 on his very last at-speed lap. His best lap of the whole day wasn't but 20:93. That's a quarter of a second slower than his fastest lap of the day. I don't know if I would pit. I don't think I'd give up the track position right now.
Okay, I'm with you, Phil. Let's stay out. Let's see if we can get Jack and Dennis and those guys to go along with us as well.
And I'm only going to have 15 less laps on my tires than the fellas that pitted before, so I don't think it's going to be enough of an advantage to come in right now.
That was, I think, in my opinion, and I love to see how this stuff plays out, but that was the call right there, whether you pitted on that last caution or not. It might be too late now, but there's some great trucks right there at the front of the field. Like you said, Setzer got beat last fall here because he didn't pit. What will he do? Pit road's closed this time by, so we'll have to wait a lap to find out.
And Wendy had touched on the commit line. Once they go past that commit line, if they're on the commit line, it's a white line that's in front of pit road, and you can see it just on the inside of pit road. Down here is the commit line right there.
Right at the open close, man.
And if a driver has gone onto that line or is moving towards pit road at that line, he has committed and he must go in. If he decides to go back out on the track, they'll penalize him.
NASCAR usually leaves pit road closed. You can see the green flag right there. Pit road will be open. Is he going to come in, Michael?
No. I say no.
I say he should.
Oh, no. We're going to be wrong, Phil. And he's on the line, and they're all
going to all come down.
They're coming. Going to be their last pit stop. Here's Dennis Setzer. The Silverado Chevrolet going to get 4 tires here. Danny Goat made the call. I'm not going to get beat on tires this year. I'm going to have tires. I'm going to have the freshest tires in the field, along with about 15 other guys that pitted this time. Wendy.
Travis Quapple's in for 4 tires of gas. They're going to go 2 rounds up on the track bar and 2 rounds on the wedge. Let's go,
Chevy Silverado. He says absolutely no changes on the chassis here, but the tires that they're putting on this truck are actually double scuffs. They ran 2 laps on the racetrack and then 2 more laps. So they've been stuffed twice. This is chassis number 31. The crew says absolutely no mistakes here. This will be the win. Whoever gets off pit road first, and Sprague is going to beat the 46 off pit road, then Hamilton next. Good battle for the 16. These guys have fresh tires and resume the lead.
Jack Sprague leading Dennis Setzer off of pit road. Bobby Hamilton right behind him. Carl Edwards behind the 4 of Bobby Hamilton.
And Rick, guess who's leading this race?
Mike Skinner.
Mike Skinner.
These are the guys that elected to pit a lap ago, last caution.
And so Mike Skinner, Rick Crawford, and David Rudiman being shown 1, 2, 3. We'll come back for exciting action from Martinsville. Coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Kroger 250 on Speed Channel is brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. And by Advanced Auto Parts. Around these parts, trouble doesn't stand a chance. Already in advance, Advanced Auto Parts. Let's take another look at why we're under caution. This is caution 8. Joe Aramendia having some troubles on the backstretch.
See Andy Houston, the 2 truck on the inside. Much like the contact with Darrell earlier, Joe just doesn't use the whole racetrack, and Andy's forced to try to get off the corner to use some racetrack. Joe was kind of crowding him a little bit. There they make some contact and just created a big smoke screen in the racetrack. I don't think anybody else had any damage, but NASCAR had to throw the caution flag because people couldn't see back there.
Let's take a look at this caution from Andy Houston's onboard, the smoke that he went through. Once that caution came out, everyone decided to pit. And here, Carl Edwards about to come out of his pit after his stop. And take a look at the pit man in front of him. Crew member, whoa!
Goosed him a little bit.
Yeah, he was a little bit wide coming around to get that tire.
Green flag comes back out. Mike Skinner out in front. Could this be the first win for Toyota? Mike Skinner says he wants it.
See Rudiman looking at the bottom of Rick Crawford there. They battle down the back straightaway.
That's the lap truck, the 10 right there, the lap truck of Terry Cook in between our leader Mike Skinner and our second place truck of Rick Crawford.
Right now, Phil, there's 11 trucks between Jack Sprague and the lead.
Not anymore. He moved up a couple spots. He's in 7th position.
Got some lap trucks there too, though. So 11 vehicles is what Michael was talking about.
Yep, but he passed a couple guys just on the restart. So moving up very well, Jack Sprague. And again, that's going to come into play, the tire issue.
Slid up high there and is going to lose those couple of spots he gained. Setzer and Hamilton get under him. Here comes Carl Edwards, going to try to squeeze in there.
That could have been a big slip right there. That allowed Dennis Setzer and Bobby Hamilton, 2 fellas that have had great trucks this entire race, to get by him. So not only does he have to chase down the trucks that have 15 lap older tires than him, he's got to chase down trucks that have the same tires as he does.
Great tight racing. Jack Sprague trying to move through the lap traffic and maybe move the lap traffic over.
He's having a hard time clearing the 67 there of Kevin Love. He just can't get the job done. And here comes Carl looking up under him. You can see looking to go 3 wide down the front stretch. Finally sorts itself out. Jack gets by.
So Travis Quabble, that yellow Line-X Toyota, wanted to get to the inside, but Matt Crafton was there. He didn't want to get hung up behind Kevin Love, which he is. Now he's able to get over behind Matt Crafton, move to the inside of Kevin Love.
The fastest truck on the track the last couple of laps has been the 18 of Chad Chaffin. We saw speed out of him early in the race. He's got some adjustments, and that thing's really going.
Remember how just recently when he was on the back bumper of Jack Sprague, when Jack was leading, when Chad was a lap down, he's back on the lead lap now, right now in the 4th position. Remember, he almost won this race last year. He ran out of fuel with 3 laps to go.
He's got a truck that's capable of getting up there and winning it again. He's really fast right now.
4 different leaders of this race. Jack Sprague, Rick Crawford, Bobby Hamilton, and now Mike Skinner out in front of the pack. He's led 6 for 177 laps. 2 Toyotas in the top 3. Mike Skinner, David Rudeman in 3rd.
Those were the same 2 Toyotas that were up front at Atlanta, so obviously those teams have done a nice job getting their programs up to speed here right away.
David Rudeman has had to do it today because he was horrible when this race started, so they've worked on their program today. Obviously got the free pass early on, currently 3rd position, and being able to stay up with Rick Crawford and Mike Skinner.
His lap times right now are as good as theirs. He just ran a 21:12. The leader ran a 13. So obviously Bobby Kennedy, Jason Overstreet, Glenn, Travis, all those boys that are working on that truck down there, they've done a day's worth of work today and got themselves right in contention here.
And Hank Parker could possibly be the one in the most pain right now going around this track. He was seriously injured at Atlanta with a back injury and has been talking about how it's hard for him to bend over, but he is back in this truck and running great. He's running in 8th right now.
Going to lose a couple positions right now. He was one of the trucks that pitted 15 laps before these other fellows did, so he lost a couple spots to some guys with some fresher tires, but Hank has done a great job. For him to stay in there, we've run 180 laps or thereabouts right now. For him to be in there in pain every lap and doing a good job.
Jack Sprague now, Phil, has gotten his truck up to speed. He must have been a little bit different on his air pressure because he was struggling the first few laps, but now he seems to be the fastest truck on the track. So the traffic these guys have got to come through are pretty much going to take all the advantage away from their tires, I'm thinking. Skinner's out in front, minding his own business. These guys are pitching the trucks down low, really having to abuse those tires right now.
Perfect example of right there. Dennis Setzer working underneath Ted Musgrave, had the pension truck. Here comes Bobby Hamilton, the Square D Dodge on the inside. And you see Jack Sprague, the red truck, right behind him, the Chevy truck right behind them. Going to try to work his way under Ted Musgrave.
This is just a great battle, not only what we see on the track, but then the strategy that gets thrown into it when you have a tire rule. I love tire rules. They have one in Busch. You can't just come to pit road every time you want. You have to kind of strategize and figure out what you want to do in order to be the best at the end. We're seeing 2 different strategies here make this race very interesting.
And Michael, 1 lap ago on lap 181 was Mike Skinner's fastest lap of the race. So his truck is working as good as it's been all day. He ran a 21:09 1 lap ago.
So Mike Skinner out in front of the pack. Rick Crawford giving chase. David Rudeman, Chad Chapman, and Dennis Setzer are top 5. We'll be back with more exciting racing from Martinsville.
190 laps into the race, and Bobby Hamilton had to come to the pits because he had a left front tire that had gone down. He had some pretty serious contact with the number 50 of John Wood as they exited turn number 2. Hamilton running in the top 10 before they had that, and then they decided they had to go to the right side and change tires there too. So a lengthy pit stop here. They thought it was only going to be the left front, and then they had to do right side tires. So Hamilton out of contention today.
Take a look at what happened.
Caution.
So Bobby Hamilton made some contact with the 50 truck of John Wood. I think he thought he had a problem anyway, and then John made some contact and the left front went down. There's Kevin Love, the 67 truck. Turned around on the racetrack over between turns 3 and 4.
And so caution number 9 has come out for Kevin Love on lap 192. We'll be back to clear it all up at Martinsville. Let's take a closer look at the Premier Division of NASCAR and our Nextel Cup update. See the point standings. Kurt Busch on top, Matt Kenseth. A couple wins this season in second. And Ryan Newman, the most wins last year in the Nextel Cup, currently 10th in the points now. That's very important for the chase for the championship as they get closer to the final 10 races of the season. But tomorrow, the world's best drivers will return to Fox for Nextel Cup racing. Advanced Auto Parts 500. Jeff Gordon looks to defend his title on one of NASCAR's toughest tracks. 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. That race only on Fox. 9 cautions have been thrown. Bobby Hamilton back in a very disappointing day for the Square D Dodge. The truck was so strong early, and then an unfortunate problem with the tire.
It puts them down 3 laps.
figure maybe he's got his sway bar arm ground off of it. We saw a lot of sparks flying as he drove into pit road, lost that left front tire and got the truck down onto the road. Wendy, what do you see down there?
When that caution came out, Mike Skinner was very vocal on the radio saying he did not want to see that caution. He wants the green flag laps. Of course, they are better on those long runs. The truck started out really tight at the beginning of the race, but now it's turned to a little loose condition. And he said, I've got a lot of rear brake in this thing. It's the only way I can make it turn.
Take a look at the race summary as we have completed almost 200 laps. 196 of the 250 run. Mike Skinner out in front. Average speed so far 61.9 miles an hour. That's pretty slow. Slow because of the 9 cautions that we have had come out.
See, 4 guys here have gone to the top. Top lap leader Sprague. He's had a solid truck today, huh?
Jack Sprague will lead the most laps and get 5 bonus points for that. We'll be back with more racing on Speed. Green flag just flies for the Kroger 250. That's restart number 9. Out in front, Mike Skinner, Rick Crawford, and David Rudiman all stopping a little bit earlier than some of the other trucks. Now, how is this strategy playing out?
Michael, I think it's exactly like we talked. When Mike Skinner, Rick Crawford decided to pit, they said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have these tires for the rest of the race. We were a little bit surprised that Jack Sprague and Dennis Setzer and those fellas came in on the subsequent caution flag. But now Mike Skinner's strategy seemed to be working perfectly along with Rick Crawford's and David Rudiman's and Chad Chapman's. But now the caution flag evaporated all that lead they had, and now we've got a side-by-side battle for the lead.
Yeah, the caution flag was the key to the strategy. Everybody made their decision and stuck with it. Now we're just going to see which one was right, who's going to win the race, because the only difference between these first 4 or 5 trucks we've seen all day long has been track position, and now the other difference is they're on different tire strategies. We'll see who wins.
Side by side as they come down for the start-finish line, and Rick Crawford crosses just in front of Mike Skinner, and so Rick Crawford being credited for leading a lap. That makes it 29 for him. Laps led, but no one will catch up to Jack Sprague now.
Mike Skinner running side by side for the lead is reminiscent of Atlanta, although it was Bobby Hamilton in the other spot instead of Rick Crawford. Rick looks like he's just able to clear him.
We said earlier today that truck is impressive, the way he's able to tuck to the bottom and complete passes. He used that truck and that ability to do so to grab the lead here with just 47 laps to go, late in the going here in Martinsville.
And early on, Gene Heath was saying, just calm down, let's save those tires, trying to coach him a little bit. Maybe that coaching is paying off right now.
And Michael, on this racetrack, and you were on this racetrack today, you were on a bunch of laps, 15 laps, pressure tires that Jack Sprague and Dennis Setzer has, isn't all that big a difference, is it?
I don't think so. We felt like the track position would be the bonus, Phil. We talked earlier when Setzer and Sprague were underneath trucks, binding their trucks down, spinning their rear tires while Skinner was out just cruising in the lead. We thought maybe that would have erased some of that 15-lap advantage right there.
Rick Wren watching Mike Skinner, crew chief for that Tundra number 42.
Got Shane Meal on pit road after a terrific run. Good top 10, strong top 10 all day long. Looks like his day may be over.
Smoke coming out of the back of the 15 as he makes his way down pit road. Great side-by-side racing. 46 of Dennis Setzer. Chad Chapman was strong all day on the outside.
Chad really rolled to the center of the corner, didn't he? Dennis beat him back. Chad really rolled to the center. See if he can do it again. Dennis is going to use a little more racetrack to take some of that room away from Chad Chapman.
Right there.
Yes, it was.
Jack Sprague saw the opening and also went by.
I liked it a lot, Dennis Setzer, spotter. I liked it a lot. He just used enough of the racetrack to keep Chad Chapman from driving up on the outside again like he did on the previous corner.
And also, don't ever discount the ability and the talent for the driver on the 46 truck. If he gets this win, tire strategy or whatever, he was going to be a factor no matter if when they all pitted. So he's just showing you how good he is right now.
And he's setting his sights now on the 17 of David Rudiman, who's currently running in 3rd position, but on the outside, Dennis Setzer decides it's time to make the move.
You can hold them down.
Whoa! Rudiman got sideways coming out of the turn. And another one turned sideways is Ken Weaver, and that's the 10th caution to come out.
Now, you don't think that goofing water bottle got loose again, do you?
I think he got rid of the goofing water bottle, so I'm not sure exactly what happened there with Ken Weaver. but had a great race.
Curving in the grass trying to get under steeply.
Dennis Setzer tried to get on the outside of David Rudeman, and David came off a turn forward, slid on up to the wall. It looked like they may have made a little contact.
Now, earlier in the race, Wayne Naughton came on the radio and said, guys, we told you about this at the drivers' meeting. You've got to calm down when that caution flag comes out. You're getting too aggressive when the caution flag comes out. And we've had it come out 10 times, so he was able to get his point across, I believe, the last time the caution came out.
I think NASCAR needs to have the ability to take a snapshot of the field, an aerial snapshot of the field right when the caution falls. And then when people start abusing this rule and driving past 3 or 4 guys, address it.
Watch this. This is when 46 Dennis Setzer on the outside of David Rudeman. David says, I want to use the outside of there. I want to use this whole racetrack. And Dennis Setzer had his nose stuck up there. They made a little contact. Right about now is when the caution came out.
Look at how clean the 46 truck is. I mean, you see just very little bumping and banging, but that truck doesn't have hardly any scratches on it.
The same way with the 17. I talked to Rudeman before the race today, and he was really down and out. Practice and qualifying yesterday didn't go at all like they hoped it would. And then today when the race started, it looked like he was exactly right. They were terrible. But I talked to him before the race, and I said, well, Dave, on a day like this, what you want to do is just have the truck be perfect when the race is over. You don't want to tear it all to heck running 25th. So just take care of your equipment. Tell Bobby and them. I used to work with Bobby Kennedy. I understand his wisdom and his knowledge. Tell Bobby and them what the truck's doing. Give them good input, and they will make some adjustments that will make your truck better for you.
You know, we saw the graphic earlier. Darrell has won 11 times here in the Nextel Cup Series. Well, there was many of those 500-lap races here at Martinsville, and he wouldn't have a mark on his car in 500 laps here at Martinsville in a Nextel Cup race, win the race, and not have a mark on his car. I never could figure out how he did that.
Well, the great ones do it very well at Martinsville. Bumping and banging continues at Martinsville as we're under 40 laps of racing to go to the finish of this one. David Rudeman, Dennis Setzer, banging hard. Coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Kroger 250 on Speed Channel is brought to you by Craftsman, the official tools of NASCAR and the NHRA. By Advance Auto Parts. Around these parts, trouble doesn't stand a chance. Ready in advance, Advance Auto Parts. And by the all-new Toyota Tundra Double Cab. Not just big, life-size.
The 10 of Terry Cook is finally going to get back on the lead lap. He's hung around the front of the pack, and this time he will get the free pass to join the battle for in the lead lap.
And we have 24 trucks on the lead lap.
Will be 25.
And that'll make 25 with Terry Cook in the back.
That's incredible. But a lot of caution flags will allow a lot of trucks to stay on the lead lap, and the free pass certainly doesn't hurt.
Ken Schrader came off the track, and he is not running any longer in the 52, as well as Shane Meal had come off of the track.
Looked like Shane lost a rear end. Just the way it was smoking, Phil, led me to believe that maybe the rear end went out on that number 15 truck.
This track takes such a toll on drivetrains, rear ends, transmissions. These guys run a 643 or 650 rear end gear. These things go from 5,000 RPMs to 9,500 RPMs in the space of a straightaway. So it's really, really tough on the drivetrain.
There's Shane Meal. We talked about the drivetrain. Looks like they're trying to cool that off.
Well, that's that grease that came out of there you were talking about, Michael. That grease is it's just will catch on fire when it gets some oxygen. So
that's how hot it is.
Rick Crawford and Mike Skinner battling for the start of this one. Green flag flies again as we have 34 laps of racing to go.
See if that's enough time for Dennis Setzer and Jack Sprague to get by these 3 other trucks.
Oh, look at Setzer. Man, he sailed it down into turn 3, didn't he? Wonder if Rude will know he's there this time.
If he doesn't, Dennis will let him know.
This is going to be it right here. He did know he was there. He gave him room. Dennis is going to make the pass for the 3rd position.
Look at how strong the 46 truck is on the outside as he gets by David Rudeman. Now sets his sights on Mike Skinner in the 42.
Wow.
That's a great package Dennis Setzer has right there. Richard Childress engines in that truck. Move their shop, move their entire operation, as we saw at the beginning of the show, to Statesville, North Carolina, from Oklahoma.
Now you saw what the veteran Mike Skinner did there. He saw the move that the 46 put on the 17 by ducking to the outside of him. He decided he would go up in that high line, at least hold Dennis up until he could get a feel of what the outside might be like. Maybe he could drive away from Dennis and go challenge the leader.
9th, 10th, and 11th. David Starr, Travis Quaffle, and Carl Edwards. Steve Park in the back there in the 62.
Ted Musgrave, Andy Houston, whole slew of guys there racing for the 9th position.
Travis, I believe, hit the wall coming out of turn 2.
Wow, a lot of action. You can't call it all, can you, Rick? It's happening everywhere.
That's short track racing, and that's the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Check out Skinner. He's been able to move into Setzer's line and hold him up.
Not this time.
See, Dennis has got there before, but he's not able to use the whole racetrack. He cannot keep that momentum going. Mike's taking that away from him. I think it's just a matter of time, but he's certainly slowing him up.
That time, it looked like Dennis Setzer even moved Skinner up on the track a little bit higher than Skinner wanted to run.
But right now, see, Dennis Setzer has a half a truck. Like, he's going to move him up. You see him move him up, just like we saw him pass the truck earlier.
And that is for second. And so Dennis Setzer now has one truck to get in front of to make it 3 wins at Martinsville. Never been done before. He's the only driver to ever win 2 races at Martinsville in the Truck Series.
And he's got plenty of time to get there, too. Despite the fact that he was down on the inside of Skinner on that last lap, he still ran faster than Rick Crawford, who was in clear of traffic leading the race.
That Silverado crew up on the wall watching their driver. And Danny Gill made the comment earlier. He said, I don't care how good of stuff I have in the truck. The best thing I've got in the truck is the driver, Dennis Setzer.
That's for sure. There's nobody better here at Martinsville than Dennis Setzer. You know, another thing, Danny Gill has so much more confidence this year in his crew. He told me before the race, one of the reasons we didn't put tires on last fall and we got beat because we didn't feel like our picker was really quite up to snuff. But right now he's got a lot of confidence in his pit crew. He said, hey, if the same situation happens today, I won't feel that way. I know I've got confidence in my pit crew to get the job done.
And Dennis Setzer, we can talk all we want about how great of a short track ace he is, but until he gets by Rick Crawford is the man of the hour right now because he's in front.
Rick Crawford has never won a short track Craftsman Truck Series race. He's won 2 races. He won at Homestead back in '98. He was our Daytona winner last year, so it would be a big win for Rick Crawford, Gene Need, Tom Mitchell, and that entire Circle Bar crew. Ray.
Hey, Phil, keep in mind, though, Rick Crawford has a victory here at Martinsville back in 1996. He won an all-pro race here, so he does know what it's like to win here. But you're right, short track racing has not been his forte so far. I can tell you this, Gene Need is definitely going to need a new pair of shoes whenever this race is over. All he's done is pace back and forth down here. We'll make sure, we'll keep an eye on his New Balance down here to see whether or not he wears those shoes out.
The past 4 laps, Rick Crawford has run faster than Setzer, but that last lap, Dennis Setzer is now a little faster than Crawford.
They're running basically the same times, a fraction of a second here or there. They're running basically the same times. Phil, from the beginning of the race, we sure did like the way that number 14 truck dove to the bottom of the racetrack, and he's taking advantage of that right now. You talk about him not being a great short track racer over his career. You get a truck that'll do that for you, will just go to the bottom like his will, it'll make you a great short track driver.
But we don't want to say that he's not a great short track driver. He is a great short track driver. He just hasn't won in a Craftsman truck on a short track.
And we'll go back to Ray's analogy with Mickelson. He's a great golfer, and he finally won the big one, the Masters. Great battle for 8th and 9th. David Starr moving up on Chad Chaffin.
Oh!
Here's a great race for 12th and 13th. Andy Houston, whoa, right in front of him. That's Dana White in the 72 getting spun around. And so caution, number 11.
Stop, don't go back up
comes
now.
out.
Dennis Setzer had a 1 second deficit. He's going to be right on Rick Crawford's bumper on this restart.
And like I said before the caution, their lap times were mirroring each other. Setzer would run a half a tenth quicker than Crawford one lap and then vice versa the next. So we saw, though, Dennis jumped. When they threw the green flag last time, he was able to jump to the outside of Skinner and make a move there, and by Rudiman the same way. So expect Rick to be defensive on this start. He needs to be this defensive. His spotter needs to be telling him he's really good on the get-go. Watch him.
And he's good on the outside. Rick Crawford has been running the bottom of the racetrack for this entire race, so he may need to adjust his line to take Dennis's line away from him, as you mentioned, Michael.
Let's take a look at why we're under caution. This is caution number 11, and the 72 truck, which is on the outside here of Chad Chaffin, bringing out this flag.
Well, this number 72 truck had a problem. He slowed way down and then cut low, and Steve was just on the inside of him, really didn't have anywhere to go. Steve had just moved that 62 truck into the top 10, just gotten around Carl Edwards and Travis Wapple, had driven up to the top 10, and then unfortunately got in an accident there. He's lost a couple of spots. Have to see if he can get them back.
That 72 truck locked up his brakes, getting into turn number 3.
Take a look at on board of the 11, Darrell Waltrip.
Darrell had driven right up on the back of this battle for 10th. I mean, from 10th all the way back to 16th was gathering up to be a great battle, and the caution flag kind of put an end to that for the time being, at least. We still got 18 laps to go, though. We get a green flag here with 15 or so to go, and we'll have a good battle in the end.
Standing by with Danny Gill is our own Wendy. Wendy?
You know, with only a few laps to go, less than 20, Danny Gill is pretty calm. Danny, what is the communication between you and Dennis Setzer?
Not really a lot of communication right now. We've just been trying to work on free the Chevrolet Silverado up all day. You know, we got the right truck, we got the right driver, and I'm really excited right here. We're in a good situation.
Well, we're not at all surprised that Dennis Setzer has moved through the field. Let's go to Ray.
Oh, Wendy, I'm just about worn out. I just can't do it anymore. I was trying to get to Gene Need, but this guy is running me in circles. He's back here in the Nextel Cup garage. 1 minute later, he's up here in Rick Crawford's crew, but I will tell you what he's been telling him on the radio. He said, get them tires good and clean, and you're going to run away from him. But I just can't chase this guy any further.
Let's hope Ray can get a drink or a soda or something down there.
Now, Rick, Gene and I worked together for 3 or 4 years. He's not that fast a guy. Now, well, we're going to have to put Ray on a little bit of an exercise program.
Kind of tells you how fast Ray is. Yeah, he probably is just avoiding Ray is what's happening. He sees Ray coming and says, I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm out in front. My truck's running well. Him saying he could run away. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Ray.
Hey, Rick, are you guys getting plenty of exercise up there in the booth? I know it's very strenuous to reach over to pick up the paper and stuff. We walk 100 miles down here. What are you talking about?
Hey, Ray, we have to sit down. We stand up.
I know.
We look at monitors. We look at scoring. There's all kinds of stuff to do up here.
Okay.
Plus, it's hot up here, Ray. You ought to feel how hot it is. I'm uncomfortable. And, and catering is behind.
Try these fire suits at Kansas City in July, Michael. It's a blast down here.
Hey, Ray.
Go ahead.
Just so that you know, Gene was right behind the ambulance. So if you want to try to track him down and maybe cut him off,
I might
you
need
can
to
do
get,
that.
I might have to get some oxygen. I don't know. But anyway, what do you guys think? What is the chances of Crawford holding off the 46 back here? Is it possible, or is this a done deal no matter how few laps we have at the end?
I don't think it's a done deal. Do you, Michael and Rick? I mean, they were running the same lap times. I think the restart is going to be key. If Dennis Setzer can jump on the outside of Rick Crawford like we saw Dennis do a couple, 3 times, then he may get the measure of him. But if Rick Crawford can keep him behind him until we get the air pressures built back up, maybe he's got a chance at holding them off.
It was impressive to watch Setzer go to work when they threw that last green flag, wasn't it? Boom, on the outside, he passes one truck. Boom, he ducks to the inside and gets the next one. So I know this partisan crowd, we've got a ton of people here watching this race. We're down to where we're going to have a restart here with 13 to go, and no one knows who's going to win this race. And throw the strategy out. This is just 2 guys buckled in, ready to do battle.
Daytona had just a fantastic crowd. Atlanta had a record crowd watching the Truck Series, and now Martinsville also with a record crowd to see Craftsman Truck Series racing, and it has never been better. In all 10 years that this series has been running, this is the most competitive.
And Rick, don't forget, we've got Mike Skinner, a former winner here in the Craftsman Truck Series, and a champion, and 3-time champion Jack Sprague in 3rd and 4th. If these guys get together and slip, hey, we may have a different winner.
Exactly.
And another guy that's been just amazing today, as impressive as Rudeman, maybe even more so, is John Wood. His truck wasn't any good early either, and they've adjusted it. He won here last fall. Now he's in shape to battle for the win again here today.
As they come to the start-finish line, 13 laps to go. The green flag flies, and Rick Crawford will try to hold off short track ace Dennis Setzer.
Matt Kraft and David Ruderman got together. Look at David Starr on the inside of David Ruderman. Look at the damage on that 75
75.
Wow.
But he's still going.
He's still competing and currently running in 8th position.
Where else could you take a vehicle like that and still contend for a top 10? Nowhere but Martinsville, where you battle these turns and the other competitors every lap banging into each other.
Hey, but you talk about Rick Crawford and Dennis Setzer. They are both extremely nice guys, but they're tough competitors on the racetrack, and they're going to give it their all. They're driving their hearts out right now, trying to get this win here at Martinsville.
Rick Crawford has been involved in some fantastic finishes. His Daytona win last year was one of the closest in NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series history, and he's looking to hopefully use that experience from that race here, because Dennis Setzer is going to come on and challenge him for this win.
Great battle. Jack Sprague on the inside of the 16 Chevy truck, and the Toyota Mike Skinner on the outside. They want to get in position in case Dennis Setzer and Rick Crawford make some contact. They want to be the next truck in line.
And Sprague was able to do that.
Coming out of turn number 4, Rick Crawford. 9 laps to go.
Wow. This is good stuff, guys. We knew it would be.
It always is in the Craftsman Truck Series.
The competition in this series is amazing.
Half a second separate Crawford and Dennis Setzer as they try to separate themselves from Jack Sprague, who's currently in 3rd position.
Rick Crawford able to maintain about a 5 truck length lead over Dennis Setzer. Got 8 laps to go. You see, it looks like he's moved up the racetrack a little bit, Michael. He's not running right on the bottom of the racetrack.
Great race for 8th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. David Ruderman, Carl Edwards, and David Starr.
Wow.
Ruderman in the 17, Edwards in the 99, David Starr in the Spears 75. A little bump in there. Chad Chaffin right behind David Starr.
Boy, Carl zinged it down in that corner there. Drove to the outside of David Ruderman, able to make the pass, moves him up into the 7th position.
Carl Edwards trying to take over the points lead as he's ahead of Travis Quapple now and trying to jump up to that number 1 spot again.
Things are getting crazy here late in this race. If you're watching the battle from 7th, 8th, 9th on back, they've decided it's okay to run into each other at this point. They're knocking each other out of the way, trying to gain precious points late in the going here.
I think with 10 laps to go, all the etiquette goes out the window, doesn't it, Michael?
Well, you know, last week in Nashville, if you're willing to run over somebody to win, it's okay at Martinsville where you're going half the speed. What about the impressive drive by Rick Crawford?
5 to go for Rick Crawford.
Taking those tires that were slightly worn and driving away from the short track master, Dennis Setzer.
But look how straight his truck is. He just gets off the corner, gets enough to drive straight off the corner.
Over the last 2 laps, Crawford has picked up 0.3 of a second on Rick Crawford. 4 laps to go, and Steve Park into the wall in turn number 2 has come to a stop, and that brings out our caution.
Oh.
Well, gentlemen, it's always green-white checkered in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and we will see that today.
I bet you Rick Crawford said, oh, no, the goofing caution's out. We don't need a goofing caution right now.
He absolutely did not want to see a caution flag. He had about a 3/4 of a second lead and actually running a little bit faster, though the very last lap, Dennis was about a 1/10 of a second quicker. But with so little time left, it looked like Rick Crawford's race, but anything can happen on a restart.
Park lost a right front tire, it appeared. I think he's got a flat right front, smoked down into turn 1, and the thing was flat, and he couldn't get the thing turned.
Sure enough, they'll change the right sides, get Steve Park back out there.
That is a team that has had horrible luck this year.
Yeah, the deal at Atlanta, he was minding his own business. The guy runs into the wall and slides right out in front of him. Yep. Still managed to stay on the lead lap and get a decent finish. Today, he's been on the lead lap all day long, and just now, with the flat tire, he's going to lose it.
Difference in crew chiefs, Danny Gill sitting up on top of the war wagon. Gene Need not even wanting to watch.
Personalities, that's what makes this sport so much fun to be a part of, whether it's the drivers, the crews, or the wives, as you see there. That's Mike Skinner's wife. Everybody has a different personality, but one common thread that's sewn through everyone is competition, the desire to beat the other guy. Like Phil said earlier, you won't meet a couple nicer guys than Dennis Setzer and Rick Crawford, but right now, there's no telling what they would do to make sure they get the win, get this race win. Not to each other. You know, those guys aren't going to compromise each other, I don't believe, but they are going to give it their all.
Nice guy out the window. Let's take a look at how Steve Park came to a stop in turn number 2.
You can see there, the tire's flat.
did a great job of keeping from making real hard contact. I think he made some slight contact. There's a slight contact with the wall, but that could have been a lot of contact. As you lean on that right front tire, so much going in the corner there. When it goes out from under you, there's really nothing to keep the thing from going straight into the wall.
And Steve has been he'll lose to the free pass rule today. So many trucks on the lead lap. Now he's back at 26 or 7.
Mr. Martinsville, the Martinsville master, Darrell Waltrip, currently being shown in 12th position. He's had to bump and bang his way around the track today. That's Andy Houston.
I am so proud of that man, being a little bit up in the years. Not sure exactly how old he is, but you can't tell. He's as competitive as ever. He likes to get out there and mix it up.
You know, we talk about him winning all those races and not having any not having any marks on his truck or car. Well, he's back in the middle of the pack where you're going to get some marks. Ray?
Hey, Ray, who have you caught up with?
Well, believe it or not, I've got him corralled into the area here. What are you telling that guy? I know everybody gets a little nervous with these green-white checkers, but what was that about a dash for cash?
Just, you know, back home, dirt racing, we used to have a little dash for cash. They're just 3-lap sprint races for whatever they want to pay, and that's all we got here.
What'd you tell him about getting ready? There's something about combing his hair, right?
Rick's a little fussy about his hair, so I told him go ahead and get that ready.
All right, these guys are ready for that green-white checkered. We've reached lap 250, but we've got 3 to go.
In the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, we always end under green flag conditions, so we will extend this race. It was scheduled to go 250 laps. We're past that now, but we will always go green, white, checkered, and we will have a single file restart since we're obviously inside of 10 laps to go.
What about the 2004 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series season? Daytona, I couldn't breathe. Atlanta, sideways to the checker. Now here, a green-white checker to see who's going to win here at Martinsville. It's all you could ask for. This has got to make pretty good TV. If it's not making good TV, it's our fault. We're messing it up because we could be quiet and watch, and it'd be entertaining.
And I don't think it's a situation we can say, hey, it's either going to be Rick Crawford or Dennis Setzer. If they make the slightest bit of contact, then look for Jack Sprague or Mike Skinner or John Wood maybe to get by.
That's your top 5. Rick Crawford, Dennis Setzer, Jack Sprague, Mike Skinner, and John Wood coming to the green flag here at Martinsville.
Dennis got a great start. He's to the inside.
He's letting Rick know he's there. Rick got off that corner. It was so critical to get off of turn 2.
Crawford putting distance between himself and Dennis Setzer as he comes by the start-finish line to see the white flag.
Darrell got spun out there over in turn 4. There he is. The caution flag is not out yet.
It won't come out. The white flag came out before that caution came out, so we will stay under green flag conditions. The checkered flag will come out. As he comes out of turn number 4, Rick Crawford is going to win the Kroger 250.
Oh, side-by-side battle for every spot in the top 10. Check it out. Big crash here at the start-finish line. I don't know what happened. Check that out. Bill Lester and Andy Petrie had a terrible crash here on the front stretch after coming to get the checker.
They were racing for position. It's being shown Bill Lester in 17th and Andy Petrie in 18th.
Wow, I'm glad to see Rick Crawford get this thing back on track, aren't you?
Big win for Rick Crawford. Gene Need, all those guys. Ray Dunlap.
Yeah, Phil, I'm with Gene. Congratulations. I guess you just told him it's time to start racing, right?
Yeah, I didn't want him to burn the tires up. He can burn them up now.
Tell me about that brand new truck you guys put together. Nice piece of work.
Yeah, it's a really, my guys did a heck of a job on the truck, you know, and Rick drove his butt off all day. And I think we're going to have a pretty good race team in about a month or so.
Okay, congratulations. Gene Need on his way to victory lane once again with a brand new team.
Gator. Gene Need celebrating, as is Rick Crawford.
Wonder how many cigarettes he smoked there at the end of the race.
Bill Lester out of the number 22. You see him now kind of catching his breath. Severe damage to the front of the 22, but obviously Bill Lester not too bad as he jumped over the wall.
He's mad. I guarantee He's mad about what happened. We didn't see what happened.
We'll take a look at it, Michael. And DW had spun in turn number 4, and that we thought might have some problems, but the leaders had already taken the white flag.
Well, plus Darrell got going again. He just got in underneath Andy, or excuse me, is that Andy? Yeah, Andy in the 2 truck, and washed up and got into him. Tried to keep it off of him, spun his truck out because of getting into it. He was going for the 11th spot. Just got away from him.
Pretty good run for Darrell, though, really. First time in a Toyota, and was just knocking on the door of a top 10.
And here is the Bill Lester Andy Petrie incident.
That's another view of Darrell and Andy Houston getting together. Darrell made some contact with the inside wall. But I'm sure he had a lot of fun. He did a whole lot of racing today anyway.
He did, and he was racing for a top 10 spot, too.
Rick Crawford sitting on the start-finish line where he had just outrun Dennis Setzer to the start-finish line. DW.
Looking pretty fresh,
looks like
isn't
he's
he, Michael?
okay.
Wow.
Looks like he can run a few more laps.
254 laps, and looks like he's pretty good. Bill Lester still very disappointed, not happy, shaking his head as he makes his way into the care center.
I don't know. That's about as hard as you can hit here at Martinsville. That Bill Lester truck's torn all to pieces.
Let's go down to Victory Lane and Ray Dunlap.
All right, so Rick Crawford is about ready to climb out of the number 14. It was 120 races between his victory at 1998 in Homestead to Daytona, and now it's been 26 since then. But today, he showed him how in the 14. Rick Crawford, a winner here at Martinsville, and I noticed you gingerly climb out of that truck after that huge wreck at Atlanta. What an unbelievable comeback. Congratulations on a great race.
Well, my hat's off to the Circle Bar race team. Tom Mitchell puts out a lot of cash out of his pocket to let us enjoy this, and driver had a lot to do last month, and the team did a lot last month preparing me another truck this year. But Gene Need and the whole Circle Bar team, what a truck. I mean, never made major adjustments on it all week since we've been here, and he calmed me down on the radio, and that was the key. But I'd like to say hello to Adam's mom. It's her birthday today, and happy birthday to her. Didn't think we'd get to do it, but we did it.
The big win at Daytona, I know, was a career changer, but Rick, you have been known as such a great short track driver, and now this whole thing came together.
Well, I told a couple of rookies today some message on how to run Martinsville, but at the end of the message, I told them, I said, get out of my way because I'm on a mission today, because, I mean, that was a lot of pain the last month, a lot of pain for our team, and we won.
Well, you take your hat off and show us how nice your hair looks.
Hey,
Gene said to get you ready, you know, so you got to take pictures here in Victory Lane today.
I'm feeling pretty good from the ankle up, so been taking care of myself the last month. So other than that, we'll get the foot strong again, and Dr. Barron's going to work on it, some of the therapists, and we'll put this thing in Victory Lane again. I'm glad to get this one over with today.
I'll bet you. I'll tell you what, his right foot was okay today because he had to hammer down. Rick Crawford, his 3rd career win in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Gene Need congratulating Rick Crawford. Crawford, an amazing feat coming on the heels of that amazing accident in Atlanta. We take a look back. This was 1 month ago. Tina Gordon having some trouble getting back on the track, and watch on the outside. Dennis Setzer will go by, and that's Rick Crawford right there.
Oh.
Unbelievable accident. Oh,
and it gets worse.
The throttle stuck. Rick Crawford hits the wall in turn 3, finally comes to rest in front of the grandstands. He can't see.
He's knocked out right now. He told me that impact with the outside wall actually knocked him out. He said first thing he remembers is Gene telling him to turn off the switch because the throttle was hung still in the infield. And now, look, here he is in Victory Lane in Martinsville.
The next race. That's how you come back, isn't it?
Unbelievable. And that's with a broken foot. Rick Crawford enjoying his first short track win of his NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series career. We'll come back with more. Speed Channel's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series post-race show is presented by Craftsman. Take a look at the unofficial results that amazing crowd was able to see here today. Rick Crawford, your winner. Dennis Setzer holding on for 2nd.
John Wood and Mike Skinner came across the line side by side, as did Carl Edwards and Matt Crafton. It was too close to see who finished where.
Andy Houston soldiered on for an 11th place finish. Hank Parker in a lot of pain all day ends up finishing 12th in his Toyota.
Bill Lester and Andy Petrie, you see 17th and 18th unofficially involved in a little problem we'll show you just a few moments as soon as we get done with results.
Darrell's the last truck on the lead lap. He finished 24th because of that late spin. Park, he was 26th after that problem with the tire late in the going.
Couple trucks, few laps down. Shane Meal, Ken Schrader, the only two trucks not able to complete this race. Again, Bill Lester coming off of the track, going to the care center, not happy at all, and a lot of damage to that number 22 truck.
I think that's as hard as you're going to hit here at Martinsville. That whole front end was wiped off the 22 truck.
The official telling him, Bill, we need you to go to the care center. Bill was on his way somewhere else. Let's take a look at what happened.
Coming off turn number 4 here, top of your screen. Right there, you see the two trucks get together.
It looked like Andy just got sideways. His truck got sideways on him, and in correcting, he got into Bill. Certainly nothing intentional, just racing hard for the checkered. It looked like maybe the Petrie truck got loose.
Yeah, and they were racing for position.
And let's go down trackside with Wendy Norris, his second place, Dennis Setzer.
Well, Dennis Setzer, you came through the field pretty quickly at the end there, but it came up a little bit short. Would you change your strategy looking back at it?
No, not at all. You know, that was the right call at the time. We decided to wait a few laps to pit, and, you know, we hoped it to be 20 or 30 before the caution come back out again. Unfortunately, it was 10, but, you know, that's just the deal. You got to make a call. It's not always exactly what you want after you see the end results, but you can make a call and you stick with it.
How was it out there? Was it as tough as everyone was saying?
It was tough. You know, all the trucks are very close, but I'm proud of Silverado. You know, they put a lot of effort into this deal. Had Silverado's second and third today, so, you know, team just put a lot of effort into this program. I'm proud of them.
All right, right next to us is Jack Sprague, finished third. You look like you were having fun out there.
I was having a blast. I mean, you know, the Chevy Truck Chevrolet was awesome all weekend. We sit on the pole. We led, I don't know, maybe most of it, maybe not, but it was close. And just had a great truck. The first set of tires, we got a flat in the right front or a hole in it and didn't know it, and it just got terrible. And then, you know, we changed the tires in that middle set. It was awesome. I could drive away from them. And I was a little afraid going to the third set because they're always just a little different, and they were. It's a little too tight in the center for me to make a run at them. But we got back from 9th to 3rd at the end there. Just want to thank Chevrolet and all these sponsors, Allison Transmissions, Vortec Engines, XM Radio, OnStar, Quadra-Steer, Articat, everybody involved. I mean, we've had a couple tough races until this one, and this isn't my best track by any means. And to run third here, I guess this is the 4th time, right?
It is.
4th time. Well, that's all right. It's better than 4, so we'll take it.
All right, Jack, let's go to our Ray Dunlap.
Well, John Wood had a brand new truck here today, and they did an awful lot of testing. I got to believe that you could get a smile after finishing 4th, 19th, and a hard-fought day out there.
It was. I mean, up until like lap 100, I think we were running about 23rd or something. And I'm thinking, man, this day can't get any worse. I wish we could blow up or crash or something. And then all of a sudden, we came in for our first pit stop, and everything just took off. I don't know if we had a bad set of tires or if we made just the right adjustments, but all in all, we had a great truck today. I know we had a top 5 truck. It showed because we ended up 4th, but I think if we'd had a few more laps, I probably could have done a little better. We had a few more laps on our tires than the other guys in front of me, and we just need more laps.
Talk about the start of this season. How about the big picture?
It's good to you know, be up front in the point standings this early on because it just gives you momentum throughout the whole season. We had a great finish at Daytona, not so great at Atlanta, so we needed this to really keep our spirits up and to keep everybody going in the shop. But you know, they've done awesome so far. They've kept their confidence up in me, and you know, it showed today.
Strong like a bull.
Yeah, and this is Mike Skinner right here. You were good too. You got right behind him in 5th. Not so bad, eh?
He showed a lot of maturity today and a lot of professionalism. He could have knocked my ass out of the way a lot earlier, but he did a good job. Passed us clean. I'm proud of him.
All right, right there's 4th and 5th for you here at Martinsville. Wendy?
Well, DW, you were running really well there until that end spin.
Yeah, that green, white, and checker kind of did me in. The 2 got into somebody off of turn 2 over there, and they got hung together. I got a run on the 2, and then we got down here to turn 3, and they'd gone 3 wide a couple of times today, but it wasn't going to work that time. He and I got together, and then somebody got in the back of me and spun me all the way around. But, you know, I knew that's Martinsville, that's Bristol. You go to these bull rings, you got to play like a bull.
So what's harder, the booth or back out on the track?
I'm tired. I mean, you know, I'm tired. I'm glad they had all those cautions. Good grief, it seemed like we rode around under
But did you have fun?
Oh, yes, I'd be ready to go tomorrow if I had to.
All right, DW, hey, Mikey said he could fill in for you.
Yeah, well, I could fill in for him for about 250 laps.
All right, back to you guys.
Thank you, Wendy.
Keith,
He doesn't have to drive, so he'll get in the golf cart. We'll take a look at the point standings. Carl Edwards, with his 6th place finish, moves to the top of the standings.
Dennis Setzer brought his Silverado right up into the middle of things with that win today. He's only 31 points back.
Mike Skinner up into the top 5 and 5th, and Matt Crafton's had a very consistent, good year. Had a good 5th place finish at Atlanta and a 7th place finish here.
Got off to a start like I think Kevin Harvick would be proud of them for. You know, they've just had 3 races together, real consistent and steady. They got something they can build on there with that 6 truck.
Well, when a new manufacturer enters NASCAR, people tend to sit up and take notice. So we'd like to continue to shed light on this development with our Toyota Spotlight. Toyota added a 8th driver to their stables today in DW, and it was a good addition. Jeff Hammond and Larry McReynolds helping him around the track. Mike Skinner had the best run for the Toyotas today, coming home in 5th position, and he led a few laps out there. Behind the 14, Rick Crawford, our eventual winner. Toyota doing very well. They've had a couple seconds now and a 5th in just their first attempt in the upper series of NASCAR.
Of course, Rudeman got their first pole for them over at Atlanta, so that truck mixes in just fine with all the other manufacturers. You know, you see great battles from Chevy and Ford. Toyota's just kind of joining in. They're doing a nice job of being competitive early in the going. Be interesting to see if they're able to develop and get even stronger as the year goes forward.
It won't be long before someone from Toyota will be standing in victory lane as Rick Crawford is doing the hat dance now. We'll come back to close out today's Kroger 250 on Speed. Speed Channel's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series post-race show is brought to you by Craftsman, the official tools of NASCAR and the NHRA. Let's go down trackside to Ray Dunlap.
Well, thank you, Rick. A big win at Daytona, then a pair of 7ths has brought Carl Edwards to the point lead, 22 points ahead of Travis Kvapil. But you told me that was a pretty rough day out there today.
Yeah, I was telling you, that's the most violent race I've ever been in, and I wasn't even mad. I mean, I'm just sitting there banging off everything. Got to thank Kroger, thank Roush Racing, Ford. It was good to see Rick Crawford in victory lane. I don't think any of these dents or marks are from Rick. I don't think I ever got up to him, but I could go down the truck and name a few guys that we ran into today. That was just wild. But, I mean, that's Martinsville. It was so much fun. And the only thing I regret is I got Steve Park and cut one of his tires there, and that was a complete accident. But, man, it's fun for Super Chips, fun for me.
I'll tell you what's a little weird, though. You changed engines and went to the back, and that usually means you're going to win, and you didn't win today. What's up with that?
I tried to uphold that record, but it didn't work out. We're a little bit tight, and I could drive it in deeper, run into more stuff, do whatever I wanted, and I didn't go any faster. So, that's a point stay for us, just making the best out of the bad stuff. Got to say hi to everybody back at the shop, watching Dad and Mom and everybody, and, man, I'm having a blast. This is so much fun.
Well, now you got a couple of weeks off again and wait for Mansfield. But he will be the point leader for another 5 weeks until we go to our next race. Carl Edwards with a 7th place finish. Wendy?
Matt Crafton with a 6th place finish today. You finished 5th in Atlanta 5 weeks ago. You got to be pretty happy with that consistency.
Yeah, we're real happy with consistency. Just got to work on our qualifying effort a little bit here. That's all we worked on all weekend was our long runs, and truck was good on long run. I wasn't looking forward to those last 2-3 yellows we had, because this thing would just keep coming on the long run. And I was wanting those, and I know we could have ran the 50 and the 42 down.
Now, when I talked to you earlier in the weekend, you said I was miserable with that time off. What were you doing in those 5 weeks since Atlanta?
Playing with my little GM Goodwrench RC car, and I learned a little bit with it. It looks a lot worse than this thing. I tore my little RC truck up quite a bit, but this GM Goodwrench Chevy, and these guys give me good pit stops all day, and we can't ask for anything more, and they give me one of the best trucks out here and finish 6th with it, and they better watch for this GM Goodwrench Chevy team all year.
All right, Matt Crafton. Hey, any of you guys up there have RC cars?
I can't say that I do have an RC car.
I had one, and my dog, he got it and left with it, and I have it.
Your RC car wasn't fast enough. Mansfield Speedway is the next stop for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the Ohio 250. That's May 16th. Tomorrow's race, can Jeff Gordon continue the domination at Martinsville? That race taking place on Fox, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. The Advanced Auto Parts 500. a great finish, guys, to a short track race. We were expecting this. We were expecting great racing, and it happened exactly the way we expected.
We were impressed with Rick's truck from the beginning of the race. We liked the way it would turn in the center of the corner. He was heated up with pressure there at the end. A green-white checkered with the master of Martinsville, Dennis Setzer, right on the back of his truck. So he not only got a win here on the short track, he got it with the worst possible scenario, Dennis Setzer right on his tail.
And we like the fact his pit strategy. He and Mike Skinner pitted about 15 laps before Dennis Setzer, Jack Sprague, some of the other drivers, and was able to hold off Dennis Setzer with a little bit fresher tires than he had.
Another great race in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Darrell Waltrip bringing the excitement to the coverage. For Wendy Norris, Ray Dunlap, Michael Waltrip, Phil Parsons, I'm Rick Allen saying thanks for joining us. We'll see you in Mansfield.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.